Chapter 99 Limitless Freedom Step. Supreme Elder. Late in the night, snow was pouring down heavily, covering the North Sea mountain range. Xuan sat on the cliff. He had already activated the lifespan barrier and was investing 10,000 years of his lifespan into the Infinite Traceless Mystic Heaven Step. The Infinite Traceless Mystic Heaven Step successfully advanced to the Limitless Freedom Step and reached the peak creation realm. The spiritual energy sank in as he began to inherit the Limitless Freedom Step. An hour later, Xuan opened his eyes, having fully inherited the Limitless Freedom Step. The Limitless Freedom Step could predict the opponent's attack trajectory, cross restrictions and formations, and walk on Dharma aspects with infinite wondrous applications. It was capable of both fighting and escaping. In another month, he would enhance the Great Yin-Yang transformation. The advanced cultivation technique of Demon Shadow Divine Skill could conceal identities, which suited his immortal cultivation traditions well. Xuan stood up and flew towards the Supreme Sect. Along the way, he expanded his divine sense to search for Leia. Leia was training his sword skills by the lake in the North Sea, very diligently. It was unknown when he would master the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword. Xuan began to look forward to the duel between Leia and Anhao. Both of them performing the Taitsong Divine Shocking Sword at the same time would be an astonishing and unbelievable sight. It was too interesting. Xuan then began to search for Sky Dragon, but it turned out Sky Dragon was not in the North Sea mountain range at all. Could it have been chased away by the demons of the North Sea mountain range? As for the possibility of being eaten, it wasn't impossible. If it were eaten, it could only blame its bad fate. Before the sky fully brightened, Xuan quickly returned to the Mystic Valley. The new year arrived, and the spring festival began. LV Badian came, bringing along his newly accepted disciple on how to celebrate the spring festival at the Third Medicine Valley. And Hao went to the outer sect to bring an Xian over. The grown-up Xian was graceful and elegant, standing next to Hao like a match made in heaven. The Third Medicine Valley, with its 300 servant disciples, was bustling with noise and excitement. Xuan planned to visit the Mystic Valley in the evening to maintain balance. Xuan and LV Badian sat under the old tree, drinking and chatting about the trifles of the Third Medicine Valley, a conversation LV Badian enjoyed. As LV Badian put it, having lived for hundreds of years, his most comfortable days were in the Third Medicine Valley. Since you miss our Medicine Valley so much, why not give up the position of sect leader and return to the countryside? Xuan asked with a smile. Familiar enough with LV Badian, he dared to joke now. Of course, his greatest confidence lay in his own Mahayana realm cultivation level. LV Badian shook his head, smiling. Without advancement, one regresses. If I relinquish the sect leader position, it won't be long before I am labeled a traitor of the Supreme Sect, showered with all kinds of slander, perhaps even accused of being a demon path spy. Moreover, the LV family and Gu family, who support me, won't allow me to step down. In the Supreme Sect, cultivation level is paramount, but sometimes, it's not all that matters. His tone was meaningful, as if hinting at Xuan. Xuan changed the topic and said, recently, a sect called the Ephemera Sect emerged in the immortal cultivation world. You must have heard of it, right? Having stayed in the Supreme Sect for long, he had developed feelings for it. LV Badian nodded slightly, then picked up the wine pot and poured wine for Xuan, saying, the Supreme Sect has long known of the Ephemera Sect's existence. 200 years ago, the Ephemera Sect tried to infiltrate the Taitsong dynasty. At that time, the imperial family was under their control. I led the Supreme Sect into battle against the Ephemera Sect in the North Sea, driving them back. The Ephemera Sect's resurgence likely comes from thinking the Supreme Sect is weakened by the recent war. Indeed, the Supreme Sect is temporarily unable to stop the Ephemera Sect from consuming the demon path. Xuan asked in confusion, what should we do? Let them grow unchecked? LV Badian calmly replied, no matter. The Ephemera Sect planted spies in the Supreme Sect, and we did the same in their sect. The Ephemera Sect has many branches, but we haven't figured out their origins yet. Know thyself, know thy enemy, 100 battles, 100 victories. Let's wait and see. Besides, I am preparing to break through to challenge heavenly destiny. This was called no matter. Not even knowing how strong the enemy was. Guan felt LV Badian was just pretending to stay calm. The real reason for not acting against the ephemera sect was to break through first. Speaking of the ephemera sect, I plan to send 10 of the most talented young disciples from the sect to the Third Medicine Valley. They can protect you while learning to cultivate their minds with you. LV Badian laughed. Guan was stunned and helplessly asked, "What can they learn here?" "I can't teach them anything." "You don't need to teach them. Just immersing in the life here and calming their minds will be enough." LV Badian shook his head. Guan suddenly suspected whether this guy recognized him as Sword Venerable Fudao. Otherwise, why treat him so well and now send talents to assist him? Under the name of mind cultivation, was it actually to have Sword Venerable Fudao guide them? Guan began to test LV Badian, asking why not let Sword Venerable Fudao guide these disciples instead. Isn't Sword Venerable Fudao said to be the strongest in the immortal cultivation world? LV Badian frowned and replied, "To be honest, we don't have the slightest clue about Sword Venerable Fudao's identity. He might be a hidden ascetic. Such examples are not uncommon in the Supreme Sect, founded for thousands of years with disciples numbering over 1,000,000. Some disciples encounter great opportunities, change their destiny, yet prefer to stay low-key. There's also a possibility that Sword Venerable Fudao is one of the Supreme Elders. These Supreme Elders appear and disappear unpredictably. Reflecting on the two characters righteous on the heavenly repair platform, it's likely a Supreme Elder pointing out the Supreme Sect's ethos. So there really were Supreme Elders. No wonder LV Badian wasn't panicked. What truly reassured Guan was LV Badian seemed not to suspect him being Sword Venerable Fudao. Just as he thought more, he suddenly felt his previous worries were indeed excessive. How old was he? How could he possibly be Sword Venerable Fudao? At most, they might think he had a connection with Sword Venerable Fudao. With worries dispelled, Guan asked, "Sect leader, if you successfully break through, can you sweep through the ephemera sect?" LV Badian smiled. "If the ephemera sect is still at the level of 200 years ago, one breakthrough from me could sweep through them alone." "Kid, do you know what my cultivation level is?" He raised his chin, full of pride. Guan pondered. It should be above divinity transformation, right? Haha. LV Badian burst into laughter, attracting others from afar. Guan watched him boast, secretly feeling pleased. Above divinity transformation is void crossing, above void crossing is unification, and I am at the 9th layer of the unification realm. LV Badian softly said. As he spoke, Guan clearly sensed his spiritual power spreading out, forming a barrier to prevent other disciples from overhearing. Guan showed a shocked expression, muttering to himself, the 9th layer of the unification realm. How many years of cultivation would that take? With your talent, it's hard to say if you'll reach nascent soul in this life, let alone unification. If you become my disciple, my cultivation will be yours in the future. LV Badian revealed his intent again, his tone full of temptation. Guan's face showed yearning and joy, pleasing LV Badian. This kid got the hint. Forget it, reaching great heights isn't always good. Like you, even with high cultivation, there are times you can't be carefree. How high is enough? Enjoying life isn't more meaningful? Guan shook his head, making LV Badian want to spit blood. This kid truly didn't understand the dangers of the immortal cultivation world. If not for the Supreme Sect's protection, how could Guan be so carefree? LV Badian wanted to speak, but recalling Guan's opinions on the outer sect and his guidance, he held back. The reason he valued Guan was precisely his character. If a content Guan became sect leader, it would benefit the Supreme Sect. He might not want it now but could in the future. Anyway, his limit was far away. LV Badian convinced himself. Guan then asked, "Sect leader, what's above the unification realm?" He was probing the Supreme Sect's depth. LV Badian snorted, "Become my disciple, and I'll tell you." Why insist on me as your disciple? Haven't you accepted and how? Why not cultivate him as sect leader? His background is unclear, also had Wuxia Xianxia as a teacher. I accepted him for his talent, not trust him. So you entirely trust me? Of course, I've investigated you. Raised by Ji family, linked to Li Xiandao, possibly Thousand Autumn Pavilion, but I see you're helpless, linked to Li Xiandao for Leah, Thousand Autumn Pavilion for the former Valley Master. LV Badian finished, wearing a perceptive look. Guan was moved, his expression greatly satisfied LV Badian. Unexpected you knew. Indeed, I'm helpless. Need to sever ties later? Guan asked nervously. LV Badian waved, no need, as before. Severance brings trouble. May glean info from you. Supreme Sect has countless spies, over 1,000 known I don't touch. Guan couldn't judge him and gave a respectful look. LV Badian grew more smug, then spoke of past chaos caused by spies. Each chaos, LV Badian would sweep spies, publicly at least. He secretly kept half, targeting internal rivals as demon spies, wiping them too. Surviving spies received promotions, deeply feeling trusted, either reforming or being bolder, setting up LV Badian's next purge. The two talked long. Guan realized LV Badian was teaching sect handling. Until evening, Guan dined with disciples in Mystic Valley. Feeling joyous, Guan declared Lu Jiojia as senior disciple, managing Medicine Valley matters. Lu Jiojia was bewildered. Yang and I frowned, thinking, he suspects me. Never interacted with Lu Jiojia, suddenly making him senior disciple? She felt she needed to act. Chapter 100, Shenzhou Scripture, The Fear of the Unification Realm. Guan didn't know what Yang and I was thinking. He chose Lu Jiojia simply because there was no one else to choose. As for Yang and I, in his eyes, she would eventually have to leave, so he didn't even consider her for the position of senior disciple. When it was late at night and the banquet had ended, everyone returned to their rooms. Guan quietly made his way to the 8 scenic caves. Lately, he had been delving into the myriad poison mystic skill and had gained considerable insight. He came to the green vine tree, and with a thought, a figure emerged from a hole, moving as fast as the wind, brushing through the grass along the way. The figure was none other than Meng Lang, now transformed into a poison corpse. Guan manipulated Meng Lang with his mind, directing him to pick a mature medicinal herb. After Meng Lang picked it, Guan waited for a long time without receiving any notification of lifespan absorption. The plan failed. It seemed he would have to do it himself from now on. Guan felt a little regretful but not disappointed. The harvests from the Third Medicine Valley and Tian Valley were already substantial. His yearly lifespan income was at least 100,000 years and was still growing. In less than a century, he could reach a lifespan of tens of millions of years. At such a speed, Guan was already very satisfied. After all, for ordinary cultivators, how many realms could they cultivate in 100 years? Guan sent Meng Lang back to the cave, then took out the heavenly residence sword and began practicing the wood spirit sword technique. The next morning, Guan came down from the attic and led the disciples in their exercises. Yang and I also joined in. After the exercises, Yang and I quickly headed for the forest. Guan felt something was off about her. She was acting very strangely today, so he observed her and saw her planting seeds in the forest. His eyebrows raised slightly. Those seeds looked unfamiliar. As a Mahayana realm cultivator with a photographic memory and keen observation, he could tell at a glance that those seeds were of a species he had never seen before. He immediately walked over and came up behind Yang and I. What are you planting? Guan asked curiously, throwing a lifespan detection at her palm as she stood up. Ephemera, 6th grade 0/120/5000, a 6th grade spirit flower? And its name was Ephemera. Guan couldn't help but associate it with the Ephemera sect. Yang and I answered, I got these from an enemy's storage bag a long time ago. I don't know their exact name. These seeds have been in my bag for decades, and I just thought to plant them today. Really? Guan mused. Yang and I observed his expression and said, yes, is it forbidden to plant them? Go ahead. Guan smiled and didn't point out the origin of the flower. Yang and I wanted to plant a 6th-grade spirit flower. How could he refuse? Anyway, the medicinal herbs she planted would also be picked by him. Soon, Guan encouraged Yang and I with a few words and then turned and left. Yang and I looked at his back, unable to figure him out more and more. I'm actually being fooled by a Foundation establishment boy. Yang and I thought with self-mockery, then squatted down to continue planting the ephemera. No matter what Guan guessed, as long as he allowed her to plant the ephemera, she would plant it. She glanced at Guan's back and thought to herself, when I make a name for myself, they'll spare your life and then recommend you to join the ephemera sect. Having spent so many years together, she quite liked Guan, thinking it would be a shame if such a talented junior died in the sect's conflicts. Someone like him should be brought into the ephemera sect to continue shining brightly. After the new year, everything revived, and the supreme sect became bustling again. In early March, Guan and Shenzhen were discussing books in the tower when they suddenly felt something, setting down their books. Guan cleared his throat and said, "Put these things away." Shenzhen's cheeks flushed as she hurriedly put all the drawings on the table into her storage bag. After tidying up, they went downstairs. They came to the open space in front of the attic, looking up at the sky where a group of cultivators was flying towards them. Guan saw a familiar face, Ji Xiaoyu. A total of 11 cultivators, Guan continuously used lifespan detection. Except for the leading cultivator, the other 10 were all under 100 years old. The lowest cultivation level was at the 8th layer of the core formation realm, with 2 even reaching the nascent soul realm. Under 100 years old and at the nascent soul realm, their talent was frightening. These geniuses had a minimum lifespan limit of 2,000 years. The leading cultivator was LV Chen, with a cultivation level of the 2nd layer of the void crossing realm. After landing, he cupped his hands towards Guan and said, "These are the disciples assigned here by the sect leader. They are now in your care, Valley Master." He was very polite to Guan, without the arrogance of a great cultivator in the void crossing realm. This made Guan curious about how LV Badian managed his affairs. Everyone in the LV family was skilled at handling people. Guan raised his hand in salute and said, "Thank you, Senior." LV Chen, seeing his etiquette was proper, smiled and nodded before leaving swiftly. Guan looked at the 10 supreme sect geniuses, who also scrutinized him in turn. "Ms. Shen, why are you here?" A man in blue clothes frowned and asked, looking displeased with Shenzhen standing behind Guan. This man was named Lu Yu, with a cultivation level at the 9th layer of the core formation realm, and a maximum lifespan of 2,409 years. Shenzhen ignored him and said to Guan, "Since you have guests in your medicine valley, I'll be leaving. Next time we'll be alone." Having said that, she leapt into the air, quickly disappearing behind the mountains. Alone? Everyone looked at Guan with strange expressions, Lu Yu's eyes flashing with a cold gleam. "Lu Yu has become hostile towards you and wants to attack you. Do you want to perform a lifespan detection on him?" "He wants to attack me?" How deep was this hatred? Guan said, "Ms. Shen and I just like to read books and occasionally discuss them. We have no other relationship." She also told me that her goal for a Daoist partner is the sword Venerable Fudao. Everyone, being young geniuses, couldn't help but laugh upon hearing this. Lu Yu smiled awkwardly and threw an apologetic glance at Guan. They weren't fools. LV Badian had personally named Guan to look after them, so Guan must be extraordinary. Even if he wasn't, he was still LV Badian's man, and they wouldn't dare offend him. Geniuses were favored by the supreme sect, but being a genius didn't mean they could do whatever they wanted. At least, if LV Badian wanted to deal with them, even their families would have to think twice. Ji Xiaoyu then asked, "Valley Master, what should we do?" "Just give your orders." As soon as she spoke, the others restrained their smiles and looked at Guan with anticipation. The sect leader had said that coming here would cultivate their hearts, and they subconsciously believed that cultivating the heart would help their cultivation. Guan smiled and said, "Follow me, then. Don't complain about being tired or bitter. No one can stop halfway, only trash quits halfway." Upon hearing this, the geniuses became even more eager, looking at each other with eyes flashing like lightning. Geniuses always had a competitive spirit. Afterward, Guan took them to a forest dozens of miles away, where they began clearing the land and then teaching them how to plant seeds. He then took them around to inspect the medicinal herbs. Although it was mundane work, the 10 disciples were very diligent, not even missing a single stone along the way. A few days later, someone couldn't hold back anymore. A disciple named Changcang stopped and looked at Guan, asking in a deep voice, "Are you messing with us? Is cultivating the heart just making us be medicine boys?" The others looked at Guan as well, even Ji Xiaoyu frowned. Guan knew this wouldn't work, but LV Badian insisted on it. After a sigh, he took out 10 books from his storage bag and threw them to the 10 geniuses. Everyone was delighted, catching the books eagerly. Shenzhou Scripture, someone read the title and their eyes lit up. The name alone hinted at something profound. Guan turned away and said, "Figure it out yourselves." Having said that, he turned and left, leaving the group to start reading the book. Lu Yu opened the first page and read, "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao, the name that can be named is not the eternal name." Guan, with his back to them, smiled. The Shenzhou Scripture wasn't the Tao Te Ching. He had merely pieced together classic ancient quotes from Wuxia, creating a random collection that sounded profound enough. He couldn't bear to write out the Tao Te Ching. If someone truly comprehended something from it, that would be too much. Since getting the Shenzhou Scripture, Ji Xiaoyu and the others found their own places to meditate, not disturbing each other. The third medicine valley didn't have its usual rhythm disrupted. 5 days later, Ji Xiaoyu closed the Shenzhou Scripture and looked at the busy servant disciples in the valley below. She pondered for a while, then got up and walked down to help. A genius sitting on the opposite mountain top observed her actions, apparently having an epiphany, and also started descending. Though they couldn't comprehend the Shenzhou Scripture, it certainly seemed profound. They linked it to Gu An's initial arrangements, thinking they might gain insight in the agricultural work. Another 10 days passed, and the other genius disciples all joined in the Medicine Valley's tasks. They diligently worked each day, reading the Shenzhou Scripture during breaks, and practicing qi absorption cultivation at night. This made Guan quite satisfied. As expected of the 10 top geniuses chosen by LV Badian, putting aside their talent, they indeed weren't fools. If they believed something was right, they were determined to do it and persist. Before he knew it, half a year had passed. Guan reached the age of 59. On this day, he was in Tian Valley, having just finished harvesting medicinal herbs, when he suddenly felt something and his expression changed. He handed the herbs to Sunda beside him and quickly left Tian Valley. This left Luo Han and the others in the valley puzzled, but they didn't think much of it. Ever since knowing Guan mastered the mystic tortoise surging wave palm, Lu Xian no longer bothered Guan or others. He secluded himself for cultivation, as if possessed, his cultivation level increasing rapidly. At this rate, he would form a nascent soul within a few years. After leaving the 100-mile range of Tian Valley, Guan vanished into thin air. 3 steps later, he crossed thousands of miles, arriving at Mystic Valley, and then reached the third Medicine Valley through a transmission array platform. As he stepped out of the platform, he quickly walked towards the Mystic Pure Tree. The Mystic Pure Tree was still there, but there was someone in front of it, standing and observing. From a distance, Guan performed a lifespan detection. Zongying, 4th layer of Unification Realm 860/2800/3100, this guy had cultivated a special sorcery, with his apparent level only at the 2nd layer of the nascent soul realm. Guan was intrigued by Zongying's cultivation technique. Although a Mahayana realm divine sense could see that he was hiding his level, it couldn't see everything clearly. Guan approached the mystic pure tree and said, "I am Guan, the master of this medicine valley. May I ask who you are?" Zongying, in a Daoist robe with a sharp face, small eyes, and a goatee, looked like a bad guy. He raised his hand with a smile and said, "I am an inner sect disciple named Zongying, passing by here and sensing the extraordinariness of this tree. Could it be the legendary mystic pure tree?" Guan stepped forward, gripping his wrist lightly with the strength of the Foundation Establishment realm and said with a smile, "Indeed, it is the mystic pure tree. Do you want it?" Zhong found it amusing, thinking this little foundation establishment cultivator dared to lay hands on him. The supreme sect must have no one left to assign a foundation establishment cultivator to cultivate the mystic pure tree. Then again, such a person wouldn't attract attention. Zhong intended to break free using the strength of the nascent soul realm, thinking it would be enough to make the other party look bad. However, in the next second, his expression changed. His eyes narrowed, his brows furrowed, and he began to struggle with force. His expression changed again, showing astonishment, then his face was overtaken by fear. How could this be? Chapter 101 Wind of Ephemera, Archenemy, you. Zhong Ying's eyes widened, his voice trembling. He couldn't believe what he was feeling. He had exerted all his strength but still couldn't break free from Xuan's grasp. It wasn't just that he couldn't break free, he couldn't even unleash his power. Under normal circumstances, the power of someone in the unification realm exploding would instantly collapse this medicine valley. His chi and spiritual power couldn't escape from his body, an unimaginable force was suppressing him all over, a feeling he had never experienced before. He was a cultivator in the unification realm. In a place of 9 dynasties, he came and went as he pleased. Despair filled Zhong Ying's heart as he realized he was doomed, but he didn't want to die. Spare me, senior. Zhong Ying gritted his teeth, pleading without any pride of the unification realm. Xuan had already isolated the surrounding space with his spiritual power, making their conversation inaudible to the outside world. He had a general guess about Zhong Ying's identity, so he didn't immediately resort to killing. He asked, "Give me a reason not to kill you." Up until now, Zhong Ying hadn't harbored hostility towards Xuan, likely out of utter fear. "I'm known as the Ghost Thief. I came to steal the mystic pure tree not for myself, but for the mortal world. Senior, since you are an expert of the supreme sect, you should understand the disparity in resources in the immortal cultivation world. The supreme sect occupies too many cultivation resources, while the spirit energy is scarce among commoners. Those without distinguished family backgrounds simply cannot break through. At this rate, the immortal cultivation world will only belong to aristocrats." Zhong Ying spoke quickly, and towards the end, his eyes even reddened. Xuan felt a pang of admiration, thinking, what excellent acting. He agreed with the ghost thief's idea of protecting the common people, which was truly chivalrous. "However, you can't steal from me. You already know my strength, I have to kill you to prevent any leaks," Xuan said expressionlessly. At these words, Zhong Ying nearly had his soul scared out of his body. His eyes darted as if thinking of something, and he quickly said, "I have a curse technique that can make me completely obey you without defiance. If I defy you, I will suffer misfortune and die violently." An opportunity. He might be able to deceive him. The fear in Zhong Ying's heart subsided, replaced by excitement. "Zhong Ying harbors hostility towards you and hates you to the bone. Would you like to use lifespan detection on him? Just when I was about to spare you, you bear hostility towards me? Interesting." Xuan became intrigued and asked, "What curse technique?" Zhong Ying explained, "This is the heavenly judgment curse. As long as we both form the skill style, I then swear to you, and it can be established." "Fine, come with me then, let's find a secluded place to form the curse," Xuan said, pulling Zhong Ying towards a distant transmission array platform. Zhong Ying was still suppressed by his spiritual power and couldn't move, but he felt relieved, thinking the other believed him. Being led by Xuan, he pondered. Who exactly is this person? To suppress someone in the unification realm so easily, could he have reached the mystic heart realm? Could he be a supreme elder in seclusion from the supreme sect? The more he thought, the more alarmed he became. This must be reported to the sect. Thus, they transmitted to the Mystic Valley and then left it. During this time, some disciples cast curious glances at them, but seeing they were chatting and laughing, quickly looked away. After leaving the Mystic Valley several miles behind, Xuan confirmed no one was following and stopped. They stayed in the forest, where Zhong Ying was unable to break free from Xuan's spiritual power suppression. Zhong Ying smiled obsequiously and asked, "Senior, can we begin?" Guan nodded, also showing a smile. Seeing Guan's smile, Zhong Ying's face changed drastically, sensing danger instinctively. Before he could think much, a powerful divine sense invaded his mind. Soul-capturing skill. In a dim great hall, Zhong Ying knelt on one knee, his gaze fixed on the mysterious shadow on the steps. The shadow was shrouded in black mist, making it impossible to discern the true form. Your energy-concealing skill is the most formidable. You should probe the depths of the supreme sect. The mysterious shadow spoke in a cold male voice, devoid of any emotion. Zhong Ying hesitated. LV Badian has resumed his position as the sect leader of the supreme sect, and his cultivation is at the 9th layer of the unification realm. Are we really going to confront them head-on? The mysterious shadow responded, this is an order from the mainline. We must annex the Taizong dynasty before the great calamity of the demons arrives. The Taizong dynasty, being coastal, is crucial to our sect's future plans. Upon hearing this, Zhong Ying asked excitedly, an order from the mainline? Is the mainline finally able to help us? Yes, the failure 200 years ago dissatisfied the mainline. Though we have infiltrated the Taizong dynasty, compared to the achievements of other branches, we have embarrassed the ephemera sect. You should first probe the foundation of the supreme sect. When a great cultivator from the mystic heart realm of the mainline arrives, we will then wage war against the supreme sect. Hearing the mysterious shadow's words, Zhong Ying immediately agreed excitedly, seeing this as a great opportunity to earn merit. The scene shattered, and Guan's divine sense continued to explore other memories of Zhong Ying. This scoundrel wasn't a ghost thief at all, he just borrowed the ghost thief's name to make the supreme sect prepare early, thus he could understand how many powerhouses the sect concealed. The reason he didn't use the name of the ephemera sect was to avoid alerting the enemy. If he failed, he could still survive as a ghost thief. The ghost thief acted righteously, and the supreme sect, being a righteous sect, might not kill a ghost thief. If it weren't for lifespan detection warning him, Guan might really have been deceived by him. For a long time. In reality, an hour passed in the forest. Zhong Ying fell dead in front of Guan with a thud, his eyes rolled back, his body stiff. He had been completely exorcised, his primordial spirit was shattered by Guan's powerful spiritual power, and his soul perished before his body. Guan expressionlessly took Zhong Ying's storage bag, then burned his corpse with spirit power fire. Killing Zhong Ying awarded him 240 years of lifespan, but this did not improve his mood. In Zhong Ying's memory, there was no heavenly judgment curse. What Guan saw was his heinous acts of murder, pillaging, extermination, bullying female cultivators, refining souls to make ghost devices, and more, a truly evil person. This sharply worsened Guan's impression of the ephemera sect. He had previously thought the conflict between the ephemera sect and the supreme sect was just a normal sect rivalry, but now he believed life under the ephemera sect's rule would be much worse. Although the supreme sect also had darkness within, the cultivators at the unification realm were not as debased. Mystic heart realm, Guan thought to himself, then turned and left. The autumn wind blew into the forest, scattering Zhong Ying's ashes. In the air, the ashes completely disappeared, leaving no trace. Guan first went to the 8 scenic caves to check Zhong Ying's storage bag, destroying anything suspect to prevent revealing the location of the 8 scenic caves, keeping only the cultivation resources. The storage bag of a great cultivator in the unification realm was indeed extraordinary. Countless magic artifacts, strange and varied, many elixirs, and even quite a few low-level elixirs. After spending an hour sorting through them, Guan finally left the 8 scenic caves. Returning to the Mystic Valley, Guan went to find Yang and I to see how the ephemeras were growing. He found Yang and I meditating in the ephemera garden, cultivating. Previously, she had been absorbed in her cultivation and wasn't attracted by Guan and Zhong Ying. Normally, people from the Elixir Hall, Law Enforcement Hall, and Ji family would occasionally visit Guan, so she was accustomed to it. Of course, the main reason was that Zhong Ying's energy-concealing sorcery was extremely powerful. Why are you cultivating here? Guan asked, noticing that Yang and I was absorbing the spiritual energy from the ephemeras, which wasn't beneficial for their growth. Yang and I opened her eyes and said, cultivating in the valley to avoid exposing my cultivation level. Guan directly pulled her up and led her to his pavilion, saying, cultivate in my room. I recently set a restriction there, the disciples cannot spy on what happens inside. Yang and I frowned, but couldn't directly refuse Guan, and could only follow him back to the valley. Winter arrived, and snow covered the third medicine valley. Guan was reading in his room when Ji Xiaoyu suddenly visited him. He quickly put away the supreme secret records and got up to greet Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu closed the door and set a restriction, then asked, did you gain the insights from the Shenzhou scripture in a dream? After studying the Shenzhou scripture for half a year, she had many insights. Guan solemnly said, this is not a cultivation technique, but life philosophy. It helps you stabilize your mind. A calm mind allows you to cultivate better. Not glean from a dream? Of course not. I encountered an elder in the outer sect who gave me the Shenzhou scripture, saying something about the simplicity of the Tao and a bunch of other things. Over the years, I have often studied the Shenzhou scripture, and though my cultivation hasn't grown, my state of mind has become increasingly calm and open. Nothing worries me anymore, and I am not obsessed with anything. Guan shook his head as he spoke. Hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu gave him a deep look. Ji Xiaoyu said, this book is indeed useful. My state of mind has become much calmer since reading it, and I no longer think about things I can't achieve for now. I want to take this book back to the Ji family. Do you agree? If so, I will try to get you a 7th grade spirit tree. The Ji family's resources are no less than the supreme sect's. Of course, if you disagree, I will not force it and promise not to leak the Shenzhou scripture. A 7th grade spirit tree? The Ji family has such resources? Guan suppressed his excitement and said calmly, of course I agree. The thoughts of Kongzi mentioned in the scriptures are about conveying one's philosophy to the world. How can I keep it private? The Shenzhou scripture was a compilation of sayings from Laozi, Kongzi, Zhuangzi, and other ancient saints of Wuxia. Guan had marked their names in the book to construct their immortal images. Hearing this, Ji Xiaoyu smiled and began discussing the Shenzhou scripture with Guan. They talked for a long time before she took her leave. Just before reaching the door, Ji Xiaoyu turned around and said to Guan, now that you hold such a significant position in the third medicine valley, your status has changed. You must have heard of the ephemera sect. If someone from the ephemera sect tries to recruit you, do not agree. Why? The ephemera sect acts deceitfully and is not righteous. Engaging with them won't lead to good outcomes, and the Ji family is their archenemy. The real reason must be the latter, right? Guan silently mocked, while also sensing the pressure the ephemera sect was exerting on the supreme sect. Ji Xiaoyu's words surely implied she knew many had been recruited by the ephemera sect. Chapter 102, Defying Destiny. The green vine tree's fear. Guan waited for over half a year, passing his 60th birthday, yet still hadn't received the Ji family's 7th-tier spirit tree. He believed Ji Xiaoyu wouldn't deceive him, just that the Ji family's processes were a bit complicated and required more time. In comparison, the supreme sect was much more efficient, having quickly delivered the mystic pure tree they promised. On a scorching summer day, Guan was sowing seeds in the third medicine valley. Guyu was beside him, chatting non-stop about the Supreme Immortal Venerable. This year, the plot of the Supreme Immortal Venerable reached its climax, with the protagonist Guyu teaming up with the second male lead Zhou Tongyu to battle the demon causing chaos in the world, tantalizing countless readers. Guan was in a good mood because he had just spent 10,000 years of his lifespan last night to advance the great yin-yang transformation to the 9 extremes yin-yang body. The 9 extremes yin-yang body retained its previous abilities to prevent spying and deduce causality, and added a doppelganger technique, allowing him to create 9 doppelgangers. He could manipulate them to fight or carry out tasks. Upon returning, he specifically tested using a doppelganger to pick medicinal herbs, but unfortunately, just like before, it didn't extend his lifespan. He could only be down to earth. While burying seeds, Guan pondered what combat techniques to enhance next. Originally, he wanted to improve once a month, but in the past year, He frequently sensed great cultivators from the Unification realm battling in the North Sea Mountains, so he delayed his plans to become stronger. Guyu couldn't help but look at Guan and asked, "Hey, were you seriously listening?" Without looking up, Guan casually replied, "I can't write the book according to your ideas. Just wait and see." "How long will it take to finish the Supreme Immortal Venerable?" Guyu asked quietly. In a 10-mile radius, only the two of them were present, so they weren't worried about being overheard. "It should be soon, not many years left." "What will you write next?" "Well, see, I might not write anymore." "No way, if you stop writing, it would be a huge loss for the immortal cultivation world." "It would actually be a good thing if I stop. Cultivators shouldn't waste time sneaking around reading books every day." "Nonsense, who reads every day? You write only a few words a year." "We all read in our spare time from cultivation." The two began to bicker. When Guyu took out the latest Supreme Secret records, Guan finally believed he hadn't been slacking off reading books. Guan stored the Supreme Secret records in his storage bag, then asked, "Have there been any significant events in the immortal cultivation world recently?" Guyu secretly despised his actions, then said, "Indeed, there have. The Demon Path and the Ephemera sect have been battling in the North Sea Mountains for over half a year now. The Thousand Autumn Pavilion and the Wanine sect were almost wiped out by the Ephemera sect and are almost disbanded. At this rate, in 2 or 3 years, the Ephemera sect could unify the Demon Path." Mentioning the Ephemera sect made his tone excited again. "The Ephemera sect and the Supreme sect are bound to clash, and this battle will unify the immortal cultivation world of the Taizong dynasty. The sect isn't in a hurry, which suggests they are confident of victory." Hearing this, Guan couldn't help but think of LV Baitian's lifespan limit, doubting whether LV Baitian could successfully break through. Regarding the lifespan limit, Guan was helpless. He couldn't just point out the existence of the lifespan limit to others. The lifespan limit was like a destiny everyone on the path of immortal cultivation fought against. Who would believe in fate? Guan felt there had to be a way to break the fate, but it was hard to find. The two chatted for another hour before Guyu left, saying that the Goose sect had been secluding themselves lately, seemingly preparing to confront the Ephemera sect, and that he too needed to cultivate diligently to help the Supreme sect when the time came. 7 days after Guyu left, the Elixir Hall issued an order to collect medicinal herbs from the various medicine valleys in advance. Even the third medicine valley saw LV family and G family cultivators coming to collect large quantities of medicinal herbs, signaling that something major was about to happen. Guan didn't think the Ephemera sect was coming, but rather that LV Baitian was preparing to challenge destiny and break through to the mystic heart realm. In the blink of an eye, summer turned to autumn. One noon, Guan arrived at Tian Valley and saw that Li Xiandao was also there, having already reached the Void Crossing realm. Guan had only ever seen one other Void Crossing realm cultivator over 200 years old. This guy appeared to be at the first layer of the core formation realm, maintaining a low profile. The two sat for a conversation at a stone table in front of a pavilion, and Li Xiandao praised Guan's exceptional planting abilities. Thanks to the medicinal herbs cultivated by Guan, he managed to break through to the core formation realm smoothly. Without these medicinal herbs, Li Xiandao would have had to request Yi Luyun to transplant a golden core for him, which would not have been as strong as breaking through and condensing the golden core himself. To this, Guan could only smile and attribute it to Li Zuando's strong aptitude. Seeing Li Zuando smile, Guan could guess that he was secretly delighted, thinking that no one knew of his Void Crossing realm cultivation. "Guan, how is Yang and I doing over by you?" Li Xiandao asked with a smile, raising his teacup. "She's doing well. She started planting medicinal herbs too, becoming one of us," Guan replied. "Planting medicinal herbs?" Li Zuando's expression became intriguing. Guan suddenly recalled that LV Baitian had mentioned that 200 years ago, the Ephemera sect once controlled the imperial family. Was Li Zuando's cultivation technique possibly from the Ephemera sect? Zhong Ying was the best proof, able to conceal his cultivation. Even those with higher realms would find it hard to detect. Combined with the fact that Yang and I planted ephemeras. Good heavens! Was there an ephemera sect undercover agent beside me? The more Guan thought about it, the more likely it seemed. Li Xiandao continued, the immortal cultivation world has been unstable lately, so you need to be careful. Guan followed up, are you referring to the ephemera sect, uncle? Exactly. Uncle, as the emperor, what is your view on the ephemera sect? Li Xuando's face remained calm as he said, ambitious wolves, bringing calamity to the common people. Hearing this, Guan was momentarily stunned. That didn't sound like something an ephemera sect member would say. Li Xiandao began recounting past events, revealing that his father had been controlled by the ephemera sect, turning the court into a money-making tool for them. When the scandal was exposed, his father was killed by the ephemera sect. Li Xiandao had to enlist the Supreme Sect's help, and because he provided intelligence at that time, the Supreme Sect supported him to the throne, as he wasn't the crown prince. Li Xuando's tone was filled with hatred towards the ephemera sect, making it unlikely he was faking it. I may want to challenge the Supreme Sect, but that's an internal struggle within the dynasty. If the ephemera sect fights the Supreme Sect, I will certainly support the Supreme Sect with all my might, Li Xiandao said coldly, his eyes flashing with killing intent aimed at the ephemera sect. Guan asked in surprise, if the ephemera sect is so malicious, and nobody knows their headquarters location, why do so many people join them? Li Xiandao explained, because of the ephemera. It's said that the ephemera can change a cultivator's aptitude and even extend their lifespan. Plus, they offer generous cultivation resources to their members, so people keep joining. Based on the information I have, the ephemera sect's foundation is extremely strong, possibly even stronger than the entire Taizong dynasty. What we're dealing with now is just a branch of the ephemera sect. Ephemera? Changing aptitude? Guan raised an eyebrow, no wonder Yang and I sat meditating in the ephemera garden. But he remained skeptical about the ephemera's effects. Could a sixth-tier medicinal herb really defy nature? Li Xiandao continued to narrate the ephemera sect's actions from 200 years ago. Back then, entire cities' populations would often disappear, leaving only empty cities behind. To this day, Li Xiandao hadn't found out where those people went, but their fate was undoubtedly grim. Listening to this was like hearing ghost stories for Guan, completely engrossed in the tales. The ephemera sect was indeed incredibly sinister. It was said that the ephemera sect's followers weren't limited to cultivators, but included demons and ghosts. This reminded Guan of the ghost mother of the ephemera still left on the heavenly repair platform. After chatting for a full hour, Li Xiandao hadn't finished his story, yet Guan was not bored. Suddenly, a prompt appeared before Guan, Zhongliang harbors ill will towards you and wants to kill you. Do you wish to perform lifespan detection on him? Zhongliang? Who's this? A complete stranger. Guan was puzzled. He was usually kind to others and rarely made enemies. The name sounded significant, and Guan silently chose yes. Consuming 100 years of lifespan is required. Do you wish to continue? So pricey? Guan couldn't help but ask, Uncle, have you heard of Zhongliang? Li Xiandao frowned deeply and said, has the ephemera sect begun contacting you? Is this person from the ephemera sect? Guan asked, suddenly tense, immediately opting to continue in his mind. Zhongliang, 3rd level of Unification Realm 1462/2900/3000, 3rd level of Unification Realm. Guan's brow furrowed as he carefully considered how the other party had identified him. Was it because of Zongying? No, he had checked many times to ensure there were no messaging items from other great cultivators on Zongying, and Zongying had been dead for half a year. Who was it then? Guan, realizing the ephemera sect had targeted him, felt a sudden urge to infiltrate their headquarters and eliminate them. Unfortunately, the ephemera sect had no central headquarters, at least not in Zongying's memories. Zongying and that mysterious figure always met in different places. 200 years ago, Zhongliang was the sect hierarch of the ephemera sect, who fled after being severely injured by LV Badian. Where did you encounter him? Li Xiandao asked gravely. Guan shook his head, saying, I once had a chance encounter with him outside the Supreme Sect outer sect. He invited me to seek an opportunity, but I refused. Talking with you today reminded me of him, and I never thought he would be an ephemera sect demon. Li Xiandao didn't doubt Guan's words but considered many possibilities. Could it be that Zhongliang was targeting Liya, or maybe even himself? Li Xuando's expression darkened further. The name Zhongliang took away their interest in chatting. Subsequently, Guan inspected Tian Valley before leaving hastily. Returning to the Mystic Valley, Guan went to the tunnel within the 8 scenic caves. He wanted to search Zhong Ying's storage bag again, just in case. As soon as he arrived, he saw with his divine sense a vine from the green vine tree fiddling with Zhong Ying's storage bag. Keeping his energy concealed, he made no footsteps and quietly approached. As he stepped out of the tunnel, the green vine tree was visibly startled, with its vine retracting instantly. Guan approached it coldly and said, "Since you've gained spiritual wisdom, why are you hiding? Are you afraid of me? Be careful, or it'll burn you." As he finished speaking, spirit power fire ignited in his right hand. The animosity from Zhongliang had put him in a foul mood. Hearing his words, the green vine tree shuddered, leaves falling, and a gentle female voice spoke, "I am not afraid of you, but of that tree." Chapter 103 Ephemera Tree. Guan dispels demons. What kind of tree? Guan looked at the green vine tree and asked. The green vine tree was nearly 300 years old and capable of speech, which was not surprising to him. The green vine tree's voice resembled Jiang Qiong's, likely because it had overheard Jiang Qiong frequently while it was developing spiritual wisdom. "I don't know. But I can sense it. It will eat me," the green vine tree's voice sounded again, causing Guan to frown. Guan first thought of the human-faced tree. That thing also came from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion and was quite sinister, but the human-faced tree's grade and rank were lower than the green vine tree's. How could it frighten the green vine tree so? "Where is it?" Guan asked further. "I don't know. Is it close to you?" "Very far, very far." Upon hearing this response, Guan ruled out the human-faced tree. Could it be related to the ephemera sect? Could the missing townsfolk have been devoured by one of the ephemera sect's evil trees? The more Guan pondered, the more it seemed possible. Thinking further about Zhongliang keeping an eye on him made him very uneasy. He wasn't afraid of Zhongliang, he was afraid of someone discovering he had hidden his cultivation level. This can't go on. He couldn't sit and wait for death. Guan's eyes sharpened, and the terrifying divine sense of a Mahayana realm cultivator spread out, directly covering the Taizong dynasty. The Taizong dynasty was vast, but it couldn't escape the divine sense of a Mahayana realm cultivator. He was going to conduct a thorough search for Zhongliang, even if it meant turning the place upside down. To his surprise, Taizong dynasty's cultivators were numerous. Guan felt like he was panning for gold. Guan did not retreat despite the difficulty, determined to find the hidden enemy. Inside a dim underground chamber, Su Han, bare-chested, sat meditating within the cold pool. The water emitted a chilling mist, and beside him stood a jade-white longsword, appearing as though made from white bones, with a blade shrouded in blood aura, eerie and shocking. Su Han's face showed pain, but he gritted his teeth and persevered. After a while, he suddenly heard wailing from afar. Opening his eyes involuntarily, he looked at a figure meditating against the cave wall and asked, "Master, what was that sound just now?" Zhongliang, with his eyes closed, replied indifferently, "Do not mind them. They are just a pitiful bunch begging for heavenly mercy. Whether they live or die has nothing to do with you." His white hair hung loosely, and he wore a large robe. His facial features were square, and his brows always seemed furrowed, creating the illusion of a third eye between them. Su Han couldn't calm his heart after hearing those wails. "Do not forget the purpose of joining the sect, or why you took up my sword," Zhongliang's voice sounded again, with a hint of impatience. Su Han took a deep breath and closed his eyes again. Once he closed his eyes, Zhongliang opened his, looking at him with a cold glint. The kid's hatred is still insufficient. I need to find his master and use him to provoke him, Zhongliang thought. Suddenly, Zhongliang's heart trembled, experiencing a brief moment of panic, causing him to frown. What's happening? Is this an illusion? Zhongliang felt uneasy and immediately spread his divine sense but saw no sign of an enemy. Elsewhere, within the 8 scenic caves, Guan's eyes suddenly changed. Found. Guan searched the entire Taizong dynasty but did not find the ephemera sect stronghold. He recalled the underground and probed it again, looking for special spiritual energy, eventually discovering Xuan. Beside Xuan sat a unification realm cultivator. In a vast underground space miles away from the two, there stood a giant spiritual tree. Upon seeing it, Guan confirmed this must be the existence feared by the green vine tree. This should be the ephemera sect's stronghold. None of them were good, kill them all and then hunt down Zhongliang. Not killing Zhongliang left him restless. Guan looked back at the green vine tree and said, "In the future, whenever you sense fear or notice anything unusual nearby, tell me immediately. I won't treat you badly." The green vine tree twisted its trunk, making a timid sound. "Okay, master." Guan then stepped away. Even in front of the green vine tree, he didn't show his true strength. Keeping it hidden was always beneficial. Leaving the 8 scenic caves, Guan entered a forest, using the limitless freedom step to speed away. In the underground chamber, Zhongliang's frown deepened. He scanned with his divine sense several times, finding nothing unusual, but he did not trust his senses to be wrong. Suddenly, a hand pressed on his shoulder. His face changed drastically, instinctively wanting to jump away, but to his horror, he found himself unable to break free. At this moment, he felt the same as Zhong Ying did earlier. Inconceivable. Fear. Despair. He was a unification realm cultivator at the 3rd level, yet he was pinned down by a single hand, unable to move. Zhongliang glanced sideways and saw a figure emitting demonic qi standing beside him. It was Guan, using the 9 extremes yin-yang body, surrounded by purple-black demonic qi, making it impossible for Zhongliang to see his true face. This stronghold had over 100 types of formations and restrictions, but Guan, with his 9 extremes yin-yang body and limitless freedom step, entered without a trace, not triggering any alarm, and even the monitoring formations didn't detect the intrusion. Guan pressed Zhongliang with one hand, his gaze shifting to Xuan. Xuan's cultivation had reached the 9th layer of the Foundation Establishment realm, but his maximum lifespan hadn't increased, remaining at 199 years. Normally, a 9th layer Foundation Establishment realm cultivator's lifespan would exceed 200 years. Clearly, the hateful Heaven Divine Sword had potential beyond its limits but couldn't break the restriction of its own destiny. No wonder those who cultivated the hateful Heaven Divine Sword, despite rapid progress, became increasingly prone to deviation as they advanced. Xuan hadn't noticed Guan's arrival as he focused on his cultivation. Guan looked at Zhongliang, preparing to use the soul-searching skill, trying to find Zhongliang via lifespan detection. It's you, kid. Then you die. Guan crushed with his right hand, infusing terrifying spiritual power of the Mahayana realm into Zhongliang's body, annihilating him, body and soul. A gust of wind swept across, causing Xuan to instinctively open his eyes. His pupils dilated suddenly as he quickly got up and grabbed the jade-white longsword beside him. "Who are you?" Xuan pointed his sword at Guan, querying sternly. "Where was Master? Why did he suddenly disappear?" Xuan was filled with terror. Guan's presence was intimidating, especially in the dimly lit chamber. A terrifying pressure burst from Guan, instantly overpowering Xuan, who fell into the pool, dazed. Guan turned and walked to a nearby cave entrance, disappearing into the darkness. Miles away in a vast underground space, dimly lit, stood a giant tree 100 feet tall with blood-red leaves. Vines hung from its branches, each holding a person bound at the bottom. These people had vines around their necks, unable to escape, their bodies withering at a visible rate, many already reduced to dried corpses. The scene was horrifying and extremely ghastly. Beneath the giant tree stood members of the ephemera sect, each holding cultivators. Both men and women had talisman papers all over their bodies, sealing their spiritual power, resembling common prisoners, looking very disheveled. The prisoners numbered over 1,000, while the ephemera sect members guarding them were over 100. All the prisoners looked despairingly at the giant tree feeding on them. "It's a demon, a demon. You will die horribly for deceiving me into joining only to feed me to this evil tree. Is this a monster, or a demon? Damn it." Some cursed, some wailed, some pleaded. Their voices made the dark underground space even more terrifying. A demon cultivator woman, with a seductive figure and beautiful face, snorted coldly, "Victor's right history. What are you yelling for? You're no good people either. Maybe the heavens think we're eradicating evil." While speaking, she picked up a man beside her, bringing her mouth to his forehead and started to devour his life essence, making the man's complexion rapidly pale and his eyes lose their sparkle. Whoosh! A cold wind blew by. The demon cultivator woman instinctively looked at the weeds at her feet, seeing the leaves tremble. Before she could react, swoosh, the blade of grass shot up, piercing her forehead, blood splattering in her mind. Not only her, but the other demon cultivators of the ephemera sect also simultaneously got killed by grass blades, regardless of their cultivation level, all dropping dead. The prisoners were stunned, sensing something. They turned their heads in unison, seeing a figure approaching from the darkness. Demon Shadow Divine Skill. A member of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion, someone shouted in delight. As the words fell, Xuan suddenly accelerated, becoming multiple afterimages passing all the prisoners, arriving beneath the giant tree. The prisoners seemed immobilized, all frozen in place. A breath later, they all turned to ashes simultaneously. Xuan lifted his eyes to see a prompt appear before him: Ephemera Tree, 8th rank 340/42000/230000, 8th rank. No wonder the green vine tree was scared. The main trunk of the ephemera tree started to crack, revealing a giant human face, only its features visible, gender indistinguishable but with a greedy, sinister expression. The vines loosened, all attacking Xuan simultaneously. Clang! The sound of the sword being drawn echoed in the underground space, ear-piercing. The ephemera tree was cut in half, its vines falling like rain, its greedy face also split in two, freezing in expression. The two halves of the tree body suddenly shattered as sword chi burst forth, spectacularly. Xuan sheathed the heavenly residence sword and put it in his storage bag, then used his spiritual fire to burn the ephemera tree. Lines of lifespan gains frenziedly appeared before his eyes. The 8th rank spiritual tree was strong, its aura no less than a unification realm's, but alas, it faced a Mahayana realm cultivator. At noon. In the 3rd Medicine Valley, Xuan walked down from the transmission array platform in good spirits, having harvested over 40,000 years of lifespan the previous night, with the ephemera tree contributing 5,000 years. Only Xuan remained alive at the ephemera sect's stronghold. Knowing those prisoners were demon cultivators, Xuan had shown no mercy, ensuring there were no potential threats left. As he stepped off the platform, Xuan sensed the auras of LV Badian, Gu Zong, and Jihan Tian, who were waiting in his pavilion. Xuan immediately walked there. Upon reaching the pavilion, the door opened. He crossed the threshold, intending to salute, but Gu Zong waved his sleeve, closing the door and setting a restriction again. Xuan noticed their unusual expressions, suspecting that the ephemera sect was about to attack. He did not panic, believing that once the ephemera sect discovered the loss of the ephemera tree, they'd have no time to deal with the supreme sect. LV Badian's face was extremely grim, appearing very weak, pale-faced. He looked at Xuan, gritting his teeth. "I have to tell you some cruel bad news." Chapter 104 Ascender's Attack. What bad news? Xuan asked, sensing LV Badian's weak aura, so he cast a lifespan detection. LV Badian, Unification Realm 9th Layer 764/2050/3200, it didn't seem to have changed much. Wait. His lifespan had dropped by 1100 years. Xuan remembered his previous lifespan was 3,150 years. Could it be a failed tribulation? Xuan was secretly astonished. No wonder in cultivation evolution, every time he failed, it took many years before he could attempt another tribulation in reality. In reality, he might die directly, and even if he didn't, he couldn't attempt tribulation continuously. LV Badian took a deep breath and said, I failed the tribulation, couldn't break through to a higher realm, and I even need many years to recover my peak cultivation. Upon hearing this, Xuan's expression changed drastically. He instantly became agitated, took 2 steps forward, and anxiously asked, Sect leader, are you all right? You must take care of yourself, Supreme Sect cannot do without you. LV Badian smiled upon hearing this, and Guzong also felt gratified. Tian, on the other hand, was displeased and said, What do you mean by we can't do without him? If he dies, there's still me. Who among the vice sect leaders doesn't want to become the sect leader? But is it really appropriate to be so blunt? Xuan thought secretly, his face still full of worry. Don't worry, I won't die, but it will be quite difficult to attempt a higher realm again in this lifetime. If I fail again next time, I will truly die. LV Badian said gloomily, recalling the terrifying experience of the tribulation, his face showing lingering fear. Xuan couldn't help but ask, is the heavenly tribulation that difficult? Even a great cultivator like you can't manage it? Tian snorted and said, he managed to deal with the tribulation, already surpassing the myriad of beings in the 9 dynasties. How many people and demons spend their entire lives without even touching the unification realm? Guzong nodded, chuckling self-deprecatingly, I couldn't touch the unification realm myself. Xuan took a deep breath and said with a bitter smile, not to mention the unification realm, I can't even reach the core formation realm. His current apparent cultivation was still in the foundation establishment realm. Don't worry, even if I have to throw elixirs, and heavenly materials and earth treasures at you, I will get you to the core formation realm. But to achieve the nascent soul realm, that will depend on your personal fortune and opportunities, even the sect can't help there. Of course, you have another option, become my disciple, and I will transfer my entire cultivation to you, said LV Badian, waving his sleeve with a domineering air. Here it comes again. Just as Xuan was about to refuse, Tian couldn't help but say, stop thinking about transferring cultivation for now. The ephemera sect is eyeing us covetously. They might attack tomorrow. Even if he inherits your cultivation, he won't have your strength. Right now, the Supreme Sect indeed cannot do without you. Guzong nodded and said, I have already contacted the Supreme Elders. Not sure how many will come back. As they started talking about the Supreme Elders, LV Badian's attention was diverted, and he began to sigh. It turned out the Supreme Elders left the Supreme Sect in search of opportunities to break through beyond the unification realm. Since ancient times, only 1 in 10 who left managed to return, and among those, only 1 in 10 succeeded in breaking through, while the others returned to live out their lives in peace. Tian mentioned the true inheritor, saying he believed that person was most likely to surpass the unification realm among the Supreme Sect cultivators, even more likely than the Supreme Elders. This piqued Xuan's curiosity about the true inheritor. What kind of talent made everyone in the Supreme Sect mention him with admiration and expectation? Xuan stood quietly, listening to learn more about the Supreme Sect's past. Half an hour later, the 3 finished talking. The most important thing we have to tell you today is that we will soon send more high-rank seeds. You must cultivate them carefully, as it concerns the Supreme Sect's future battle with the ephemera sect, Tian said seriously, looking at Xuan sending seeds. The more, the better. Xuan quickly assured, no matter how many seeds are sent, I will do my best to cultivate them, and I won't be careless. Guzong chuckled and said, I like your spirit. No other valley master is as dedicated as you. Some neglect their duties, and some embezzle. Work hard, and you'll be promoted to inner sect disciple in the future. Xuan hastily gave his thanks. Then LV Badian and the other 2 got up and left. As they walked out of the pavilion, LV Badian's complexion instantly recovered. As the sect leader, he couldn't let the disciples see him looking weak. Xuan went downstairs and watched them leave. He felt some regret. He had wanted to ask Tian when the 7-layer spirit tree was coming. The news of the ephemera tree being destroyed and LV Baitian's failed tribulation had not spread in the immortal cultivation world. At least when Yilan came to visit Guan, she didn't mention these two things. Yilan couldn't participate in the upcoming spring festival because the law enforcement hall had a big mission recently, which would take several months. Standing by the edge of the tower, Guan watched Yilan's departing figure. Only after she disappeared into the swirling snow did he withdraw his gaze. He turned to see Yang and I emerging from the forest, and when she walked past his tower, he asked, "You say the ephemera sect has no foundation, yet it attracts so many cultivators. How foolish are the cultivators of this world?" Yang and I stopped our steps, looked up at Guan, and said, "Maybe the ephemera sect has something they want?" "Really? But it feels like a scam." The outer sect's demon extermination hall was the same. Lu Jiujia trusted them, thinking he could rise to prominence, only to be persecuted. Guan said with a sigh, shaking his head. "People in this world cannot escape the concept of strife. But in my Medicine Valley, there's no need for strife." With that, he turned and went back inside. Yang and I frowned, feeling that Guan was hinting at her. If Guan suspected her connection with the ephemera sect, why didn't he confront her directly? Yang and I thought for a moment and decided to talk to Lu Jiujia to see what was going on. Winter snow fell heavily, and the 7th layer spirit tree promised by Ji family finally arrived. Pure Yang tree, 7th layer 2/8999/64,000, Guan carried the sapling, taller than a person, and started looking for a suitable place to plant it. He finally decided to plant the pure Yang tree in the open space in front of the pavilion, immediately calling the disciples to come and shovel snow and dig the ground. Hearing it was a 7th layer spirit tree, many disciples gathered to watch. Even as a sapling, the pure Yang tree melted the surrounding snow as soon as it entered the ground, making everyone feel warm, like a fire tree. This pure Yang tree was Gu An's personal treasure, so listening to the disciples' discussions filled him with a sense of accomplishment. Suddenly, he looked into the distance and saw cultivators flying over the mountain on their swords, led by the outer sect Great Elder LV Songhan. Following LV Songhan were 200 servant disciples, with cultivation levels all above the 7th layer of the energy cultivation realm. Why is she here? Guan saw Ascender Lu Lingjun among the group. This person's apparent cultivation was at the 8th layer of the energy cultivation realm, well hidden. Who could expect this servant disciple to be a great cultivator in the 9th layer of the unification realm, comparable to LV Baitian? If a fight started, Guan thought that LV Baitian might not be Lu Lingjun's match. LV Baitian had lived for over 700 years, while Lu Lingjun was a near 2,000-year-old monster. After landing, LV Songhan clasped his fists and said with a smile, "Brother Gu, these are 200 servant disciples I specially selected for you to command, with higher approval." Choosing servant disciples was because they were unlikely to steal medicinal herbs here, as this was inner sect territory, with an entire outer gate city nearby as a barrier, ensuring safety and just needing manpower. Guan stepped forward and exchanged pleasantries with LV Songhan. Lu Lingjun, standing in the crowd, scrutinized Guan with curiosity. Foundation establishment realm cultivation, yet could address nascent soul realm cultivators as equals? Who was this person? The other servant disciples were excited. The Medicine Valley being in the inner sect territory meant a massive opportunity for them. After LV Songhan left, Guan called Xuan to arrange accommodations for the servant disciples. He didn't look much at Lu Lingjun, not wanting to get entangled with an ascender. That day, the new servant disciples were all busy building pavilions and exploring the 3rd Medicine Valley. Seeing 2 7th layer spirit trees hidden in the 3rd Medicine Valley surprised Lu Lingjun. She had seen a 7th layer spirit tree before ascending, over 20,000 years old and larger than a mountain. The Supreme Sect's foundation was astonishing, and she must take root here. In the following days, Lu Lingjun worked so hard that Guan couldn't help but notice her. After the new year, Guan had Xuan select 10 servant disciples to become deacons of Medicine Valley, to oversee the other servant disciples, and Lu Lingjun was among them. Lu Lingjun's eager gaze made Guan uncomfortable. She was outstandingly beautiful, unmatched by any female disciple in the valley, and her performance was impeccable. Ignoring her would raise suspicions. Addressing the 10 Medicine Valley deacons, Guan gave them some encouragement before dismissing them. Lu Lingjun approached and whispered, "Valley Master, I have something to tell you. Can we speak in your room?" Guan hesitated for a moment but then nodded in agreement, leading her to the pavilion. The deacons who hadn't left looked at Lu Lingjun with envy. Beauty truly was an asset. Once inside, Lu Lingjun closed the door and Guan sat at his desk, flipping over the Green Hero travelogue on it. Lu Lingjun approached and took out a secret book from her bosom, handing it to Guan. Guan glanced at it. 9 Revolutions Golden Body Art. The name was quite imposing. In a low voice, Lu Lingjun introduced, "This is my family's cultivation technique. I hope the Valley Master does not disdain it." Guan frowned and said, "What are you doing? Take it back now. Do you know how inappropriate this is if someone sees it?" Understanding his point, Lu Lingjun stowed away the 9 Revolutions Golden Body Art and took out a magic artifact from her storage bag. "I told you not to." Lu Lingjun then produced an elixir, saying it could enhance chi blood and meridians. "Are you testing me? Accusing me of questioning my loyalty to the supreme sect?" Guan rose furiously, quietly admonishing her, as if afraid the disciples outside might hear. Lu Lingjun silently cursed his greediness. Suddenly thinking of something, she took out a white jade vial from her storage bag and said, "This is heavenly spirit water. Don't underestimate this single vial. When poured on the ground, it gathers spiritual energy to form a lake. The lake's water can improve the surrounding soil, speeding up the growth of heavenly material and earth treasures. Additionally, it condenses spirit pearls yearly, which can be consumed or used in alchemy." Upon hearing this, Guan accepted the vial from her hand and said sternly, "This should not set a precedent. Speak, what do you want, but it must not harm the supreme sect's interests." Lu Lingjun smiled and said, "Valley Master, may I cultivate under the mystic pure tree?" She had previously taken notice of the gigantic white spirit rat under the mystic pure tree, knowing from her experience that the rat was in a profound enlightenment state. Chapter 105, Void Crossing Realm. Is it very strong? Mystic Pure Tree. Guan didn't expect Lu Lingjun to discover the mysteries of the mystic pure tree so quickly. This matter was not forbidden to him, on the contrary, it brought him more inspiration. In the future, he could use the mystic pure tree to drive the disciples to work harder. Guan pondered, "All right, but you can only go there at night, and you must leave before dawn. The mystic pure tree is the sect's property, and many great cultivators keep an eye on it. Do you understand?" Hearing this, Lu Lingjun quickly bowed to thank Guan. Watching this 9th-layer unification realm great cultivator being so respectful to him, Guan felt a deep sense of emotion. Wasn't he in the same position before? Having a great cultivation level but needing to act cautiously was because they were all not satisfied with their current state and believed they could still ascend higher. After some brief conversation, Lu Lingjun took her leave. Lu Lingjun closed the door, then walked down the stairs, as she puzzled silently to herself, what kind of book is Green Hero Travelogue? It's even more valuable than the 9 Revolutions Golden Body Art. Although Guan moved swiftly, she still managed to catch the title of Green Hero Travelogue in that brief moment. She decided to investigate in the Outer Gate City later. Ever since arriving at the Great Heavenly Spirit Land, Lu Lingjun had been curious about everything here yet filled with caution. Thus, she started as a servant disciple, first familiarizing herself with this world and then steadily advancing. Her goal was to become an elder of the Supreme Sect. The Third Medicine Valley was merely a stepping stone. Along the way, Lu Lingjun couldn't help but wonder about the cultivation level of the Supreme Sect leader. It must be higher than hers, right? Deep into the night, in the North Sea mountain range, a fierce wind blew, mingling with snowflakes. Guan sat cross-legged under a tree, slowly opened his eyes, and a sharp gleam flashed across them. He had just spent 10,000 years of his lifespan to elevate the Ji family's divine skill, Heaven and Earth Path Gang, and had advanced twice, from Heaven and Earth Path Gang to Heaven and Earth Dominator Body, and then to Daoist Gang Primal Energy. Once Daoist Gang Primal Energy was mastered, the invisible and colorless energy automatically protected the body, repelling any evil invasion. It could withstand all kinds of spells and divine skills while being able to manipulate Daoist Gang Primal Energy to attack enemies, capable of both offense and defense. Guan began refining Daoist Gang Primal Energy. He had already inherited the evolutionary memories. He just needed to run the technique once to master it. An hour later, Daoist Gang Primal Energy was formed. He could now retain the energy on his skin's surface, allowing others to touch him without causing harm. Guan still had 430,000 years of lifespan left, hesitating whether to continue enhancing the Taitsang Divine Shocking Sword. The Taitsang Divine Shocking Sword was already powerful enough, and further enhancement seemed unnecessary. His intuition told him that improving the wood spirit sword technique might be stronger because his cultivation technique had a wood attribute, whereas he temporarily did not possess the sorcery of 5 elements. But he already had one sword technique, and practicing another seemed pointless. It was better to focus on mastering one fully. However, in 100 years' time, 10,000 years of lifespan might not mean much to him, so there was still time to cultivate the wood spirit sword technique. Forget it. He decided to cultivate other spells and divine skills first. In fact, with Gu Ans Mahayana Realm 8th layer cultivation level, any spell in his hands could crush the power of the Mystic Heart Realm. He wouldn't cross realms to challenge stronger enemies, so enhancing spells and divine skills was preparing for future breakthroughs. After reflection, Guan decided to enhance the Gathering Spirit Divine Finger taught by L.V. Badian. The Gathering Spirit Divine Finger was unique because it didn't just gather the caster's spiritual power but also the surrounding spiritual energy. In other words, this spell could harness the power of heaven and earth. Guan had a bold idea. Could he use the power of heaven and earth to disperse the heavenly tribulation with one finger during his evolution? The thought alone made his heart race with excitement. He hoped his evolving self would be wise enough. Guan immediately invested 10,000 years of lifespan into the Gathering Spirit Divine Finger. The Gathering Spirit Divine Finger advanced to Sky-Reaching Finger and then to Breaking Path Divine Light. A vast torrent of memories poured into Gu An's mind, immersing him deeply. The finger technique evolved, expanding from being limited to the fingers to being executable from any part of the body. The spiritual energy of the North Sea mountain range continued to sink, causing discussions among the creatures there. By now, they were used to it, so there was no fear, only curiosity about what was happening. Another hour passed. Guan opened his eyes, secretly amazed. Such an overbearing Breaking Path Divine Light. This spell specialized in breaking all formations, restrictions, and defensive spells and divine skills. It could even outright destroy enemies, making them perish and vanish. He hadn't improved it wrongly this time. Guan smiled, then stood up. He undid the lifespan barrier and walked deeper into the woods. There was still time before dawn, and he intended to enjoy the scenery of the North Sea and check on Leah. Leah was still at the edge of the North Sea, diligently practicing the Taitsang Divine Shocking Sword. When Guan had taught him the sword technique, he had also infused a strand of sword intent into the North Sea heavy sword to guide his practice. With the guidance of sword intent, Leah's progress in cultivation was rapid, far easier than interpreting it himself in the evolution. The trees in the North Sea mountain range were tall, making one feel small. The forest was filled with demon energy, and Guan even saw spirit beasts like white spirit rats. Some were adorable, others hideously grotesque. While Guan enjoyed the scenic route, thousands of miles away at the lakeshore of the North Sea, Leah swung his North Sea heavy sword under the full moon, shirtless. On the shimmering lake, the full moon hung high, and snowflakes drifted like falling stars. Leah was drenched in sweat. His muscles tensed with each sword swing, exuding a sense of power. Even if your Taitsang Divine Shocking Sword isn't practiced to perfection, your physical body has completely integrated with Dragon Image Divine Primordial. Your chi strength rivals that of a 4th-tier demon beast. The Ancestor's voice echoed, filled with praise. Li Ya's lips curved into a smile. He continued practicing his sword, not responding. He began to imagine defeating Lv Xian, Zhou Tongyu, and Ji Xiaoyu. He wanted to make the 100 clans marvel and restore the Li family's peak. Impressive swordsmanship, truly a promising youth. A voice sounded from the side, startling Liya. He turned to see a scholar-like man walking along the beach. The man wore white robes, carried a bookcase on his back, and held a folding fan, his figure in the moonlight giving Liya the impression of a ghost. Liya frowned and asked, "Do you need something?" Having spent so many years in the North Sea mountain range, he had encountered demons and evil spirits. He wasn't afraid of any entities he met now. The scholar in white smiled, "I come from the Ephemera sect. You may call me Traveler of Graceful Crane. I see your swordsmanship is commendable and your chi blood surpasses others in your realm. You have great potential. How about joining our Ephemera sect?" Ephemera sect. Liya frowned. Over the past 2 years, Ephemera sect had frequently fought with many demonic sects in the North Sea mountain range. Naturally, he had encountered them before. He bluntly refused, "I am a disciple of the Supreme Sect. Thank you for your offer, but I must decline." He felt proud of the Supreme Sect. In his eyes, how could an obscure sect like the Ephemera sect compare with the righteous Grand Sect Supreme Sect? Many cultivators from the Supreme Sect have joined our sect, including some elders. Eventually, Ephemera sect will replace the Supreme Sect. Joining earlier is the right path. Traveler of Graceful Crane said with a smile. Liya's face turned cold. He raised his sword at the Traveler of Graceful Crane and said, "So, I have no choice but to refuse?" Seeing him raise his sword, the Traveler of Graceful Crane laughed. "Young man, do you think you are invincible just because you have the soul of a great cultivator inside you?" As he finished speaking, he suddenly attacked Liya. Liya's expression changed. He raised his sword to block. Guan wandered in the forest for several hours. As dawn approached, he departed, treading the limitless freedom step. He arrived at the beach where Liya was. From afar, he saw Liya slumped before a reef, his head buried in his arms, while the North Sea heavy sword lay on the sand, constantly washed over by the waves. Something was amiss. Guan focused and discovered that Liya's soul had vanished. He immediately walked toward Liya. As he approached, Liya finally heard the footsteps. Liya slowly lifted his head. Upon seeing Guan enveloped in demonic energy, his face changed drastically. He quickly got up and rushed over to kneel before Guan, "Primordial Ancestor. Please save my ancestor." He was captured by the Traveler of Graceful Crane from the Ephemera sect. Liya exclaimed, his voice tinged with a sob. He wanted to cry because he believed Guan was the primordial ancestor of the Li family. In front of his ancestor, his emotions crumbled. Guan asked in a weary voice, "What happened?" At the same time, he spread out his divine sense to search for the soul aura within Liya. He had never met the Traveler of Graceful Crane, making it difficult to track him directly, so he searched for the soul aura instead. Liya began recounting his earlier encounter. After being defeated by the Traveler of Graceful Crane, he was humiliated and finally had his soul taken. The Traveler of Graceful Crane said to join the Ephemera sect to save the soul. Years of arduous cultivation had made Liya feel that he had changed dramatically, yet he stood no chance against the Traveler of Graceful Crane. His confidence was shattered. Guan failed to detect the soul aura, likely hidden by the Traveler of Graceful Crane. He wasn't worried. With a serious search, he would eventually find him. "Why didn't you find a safe place to practice your sword? Why here, without even setting up a formation?" Guan suddenly asked. He felt that Liya had many strengths but one bad habit: he was too reckless. Relying on the soul of his ancestor within him, he acted rashly and often got hurt. It was a good opportunity to temper him. Liya wanted to answer but was too ashamed to speak, unable to justify himself. He chose this place to attract demons and ghosts to attack him, thus improving himself through battle. Of course, his confidence came from having his ancestor's soul as backup. You always escape death narrowly, but have you considered the burden on him? Guan asked. Remembering how his ancestor often scolded him for being reckless, Leah felt even more ashamed, wishing he could find a hole to hide in. Seeing his sad expression, Guan's heart softened, unwilling to be too harsh. Join the ephemera sect, Guan suddenly said. Leah looked up in shock, unable to believe what his assumed ancestor had said. The ephemera sect harms the living. You infiltrate the ephemera sect and, at the end of each month, find a mountain top and release your aura. I will find you. When the ephemera sect gathers, I will act, Guan said coldly. Leah quickly said, but isn't that very dangerous? The entire demonic path isn't a match for the ephemera sect. It said there are beings above the void-crossing realm in the ephemera sect, and not just one. Guan retorted, void-crossing realm, is it that strong? Leah was stunned into silence. Chapter 1069 Nether Road. Leah finally agreed to join the ephemera sect, and Guan did not further comfort him, maintaining his mysterious senior image. After leaving the North Sea Mountain, Guan returned to the Mystic Valley. Next, he prepared to start a long-term life extension plan, aiming for the milestone of a 10,000-year lifespan. The harsh winter finally passed, and the New Year festivities began. The entire Taizong dynasty celebrated, with lanterns and decorations everywhere. Even the Supreme Sect started to hold New Year celebrations. On this day, Guan wandered around the outer city with Xuan and Lu Lingjun. Lu Lingjun was very interested in the new year. It was even her idea to come here. Given that the heavenly spirit lake formed by heavenly spirit water was indeed extraordinary, it had won Guan's favor, so he brought her along. Just right, LV Badian had failed his tribulation crossing. If he could recruit Lu Lingjun to become a cultivator of the Supreme Sect, she could shield him from the wind and rain in the future. Guan's foundation had already been built. The stronger the Supreme Sect became, the more he could lay low and survive. Over the years, the Supreme Sect had been improving, and the occurrences of dark deeds had been rare, making Guan's sense of belonging to the Supreme Sect stronger. As soon as they arrived at the outer gate city, Xuan left on his own, as he had his friends in the city. Guan took Lu Lingjun to the heavenly repair platform, wanting her to see the words, righteous path. When he carved the words, righteous path, he had just reached the unification realm. This was why the demon path feared LV Badian more. The sword intent on the heavenly repair platform wasn't astonishingly strong for someone at the unification realm because he had carved the words remotely. So many years have passed, and the sword Venerable Fudeo's sword intent still attracts so many cultivators to observe. Truly impressive, Guan remarked. Lu Lingjun had seen the words, righteous path, when she first arrived at the Supreme Sect, and she nodded, saying, indeed, impressive. In the world she came from, she had never seen such strong sword intent, which also made her full of expectations for the Supreme Sect. If the outer sect had such powerful sword intent, what kind of foundation did the inner sect have? And even higher, the main city of the sect. Thinking about it excited Lu Lingjun. She felt she could find a way to break through to higher realms in the Supreme Sect. Guan noticed Lu Lingjun's reaction was very calm and that there was a perfunctory tone in her voice when she spoke. Oh no. This person looked down on his sword intent. Could it be that she had the confidence to defeat him at the unification realm? Thinking of this, Guan's pride significantly subsided. The world was full of talents, let alone those who could emerge victorious from a world of chaos. He couldn't afford to be careless and underestimate others. Guan continued to scan the heavenly repair platform, using lifespan detection on unfamiliar cultivators he met. Since it was the new year, there were fewer people on the heavenly repair platform than usual, as most were wandering the city, relaxing their Daoist heart. Valley Master, I would like to wander around alone, may I? Lu Lingjun asked. This hurt Guan even more. Was his sword intent so unattractive? Go ahead. Let's meet here at dusk, Guan nodded, secretly deciding that he must keep Lu Lingjun in the Supreme Sect. Such a formidable individual should serve the Supreme Sect. Wait a minute. Why did I suddenly think like a sect leader? It's all LV Baishan's fault. Guan shook his head and turned towards the elixir hall. He also had many friends in the outer gate city, mainly concentrated in the elixir hall and the book collection hall. Every time he came over the years, he would find a few friends to drink with and listen to their cultivation experiences. He enjoyed this simple and leisurely life. On the other side, Lu Lingjun wandered around until someone stopped her. Young lady, I have good books here, buy one. Many female disciples are reading them. This disciple was being mysterious, glancing around to ensure no one noticed. Lu Lingjun raised an eyebrow and said, Do you know the Green Hero Travelogue? Upon hearing this, the disciple's eyes lit up and he said, Ah, a connoisseur. I knew a person of your bearing would be well versed in this. Indeed, I have the Green Hero Travelogue. Buy one Supreme Secret Record, and I'll give you 2 Green Hero Travelogues for free. Oh. How many volumes are there in the entire Green Hero Travelogue? There are many. Do you want them all? Yes. Alright, 200 low-grade spirit stones. Buy 10 volumes of Supreme Secret Record and they'll give you the complete set of the Green Hero Travelogue. Deal. The two started the transaction, and after selling, the book-selling disciple quickly left, looking like a thief. Lu Lingjun felt that she had been deceived. How could a supreme secret or book of secrets be so cheap? However, 200 low-grade spirit stones were nothing to her. She put all the books into her storage bag and planned to read them back in the valley. When she arrived at the elixir hall, Guan saw a familiar person. It was the disciple he had previously taken in from the outer sect, an Xuan. An Xuan had mediocre aptitude and could only stay in the outer sect, while Anhao had not forgotten her and sent various elixirs to her from time to time. Unfortunately, her cultivation level had still increased very slowly. The two were from the same village, but after embarking on the immortal path, their fates diverged vastly, leaving Guan lamenting the unfairness of heavens. An Xuan was doing chores in the elixir hall. She felt she couldn't always rely on Anhao and wanted to make an effort on her own. Guan watched the delicate and Xuan dealing with a male disciple who was giving her a hard time and sighed inwardly. Should he care for her for a lifetime? Although Guan valued Anhao more, an Xuan was also his disciple. If he didn't help her, he feared that one day an Xuan would die because of Anhao. As the cultivation level rose higher, Anhao's enemies would only increase and would eventually target Anhao's soft spot, which was an Xuan. Thinking of this, Guan walked up to an Xuan. The male disciple, seeing Guan approach, quickly smiled and saluted. In the elixir hall, Guan's status was not low. After all, he came here every month, and the disciples who frequently visited the elixir hall knew that he had a close relationship with the elders of the hall. After sending off the male disciple, Guan looked at an Xuan. Valley Master Gu, what can I do for you? An Xuan asked nervously. She knew better than the outer sect disciples about Guan's status, as he was someone who could have casual conversations with the sect leader. Previously, when LV Badian had brought Anhao to visit Guan during an event, Anhao had also brought an Xuan to the Third Medicine Valley, so they had met. Although Guan had not talked to an Xuan at that time, she remembered him vividly. Your name is an Xuan, right? Why don't you come to the Third Medicine Valley? After all, it's just chores. The treatment would be better if you worked for me, and you'd find it easier to see Anhao. I'm quite familiar with your senior brother, Guan said with a smile. An Xuan hesitated upon hearing this. Guan saw through her thoughts and said earnestly, self-reliance is good, but there's no need to make it harder for yourself intentionally. If it's good for you and Anhao, why hesitate? An Xuan remained silent. For the first time, Guan noticed how stubborn this girl was. He whispered, I have a cultivation technique that might change your aptitude. If you perform well in the Medicine Valley, I will teach you. He was referring to the Daoist expansion skill given to him by Wuxia, accumulating spiritual energy and suppressing the cultivation level, waiting for a breakthrough to defy fate. Wuxia had spoken highly of it, but it had not been verified yet. Upon hearing this, an Xuan was finally tempted. She bit her lip and said, Thank you, Valley Master Gu. Should I go back and pack now? No need to explain to the people here. I'll handle it. Just go back directly. I'll wait for you here. It's not urgent. Just come back before dusk, Guan said with a smile. He instinctively wanted to pat her head but refrained. Children had grown up, and such behavior was inappropriate. Moreover, they hadn't acknowledged each other. Such an action would be abrupt. An Xian smiled, bowed to him, and left. Guan watched her back, feeling many emotions. In the past, an Xian had been like a little bean sprout, thin and weak. Now she had grown tall and beautiful, which made him feel gratified. An Xian breathed a sigh of relief after stepping out of the threshold. Why did he smile at me like that? Does he have bad intentions? An Xian felt worried. But thinking of the many disciples in the Medicine Valley, she figured that even if Guan had a malicious heart, he probably wouldn't dare to act rashly, and her mind settled. After returning to the third Medicine Valley, Guan asked Lu Lingjun to arrange Nzin's position. If they grew closer, Lu Lingjun might also guide an Xian a bit. This arrangement also relieved an Xian. On the way, Guan had noticed Nzin's nervousness but didn't think much of it. Later, he returned to the Mystic Valley through the transmission array platform. Back at the Mystic Valley, he called over Chu Jingfeng and Lu Jiojia and officially taught them the Daoist expansion skill. Upon hearing Guan explain the effects of the Daoist expansion skill, both of them began to breathe heavily. Lu Jiojia was the first to regain his composure and immediately knelt to Guan. Chu Jingfeng gritted his teeth and did not kneel. Guan quickly helped Lu Jiojia up. He didn't need other people to kneel before him, as kneeling down didn't necessarily represent loyalty. He would just let these two try the Daoist expansion skill first. If it worked well, he would have an Xian practice it. After the two left, Guan took out the latest volume of the Green Hero Travelogue to taste. So many years had passed, yet the Green Hero Travelogue was still being published. Guan really admired the author. Didn't this person cultivate? How could they wander around for so many years? Under the night sky, a dilapidated temple sat in the forest. The traveler of graceful cranes sat on the eaves, holding a long scroll. He read by the moonlight and said softly, "Have you thought it through? Once you join the ephemera sect, you cannot leave. You must also bear the ephemera seal." Leah stood in the courtyard, carrying the North Sea heavy sword. He stared tightly at the traveler of graceful crane and said, "Didn't you want me to join the ephemera sect? What now? Do you hope I won't join?" The traveler of graceful crane turned his head to look at him, high and aloof, with an expression of indifference, as if his gaze could see through Leah. The ephemera sect's purpose is to pursue the Nine Nether Road. In 100 years, a demonic catastrophe will sweep through the land of 9 dynasties. At that time, only through the Nine Nether Road can one escape the hell of the mortal world. Joining the ephemera sect is to secure a path for yourself. If you perform well, you might even obtain the ephemera. Consuming the ephemera can enhance your aptitude. The traveler of graceful crane's words carried a cold tone, and the term demonic catastrophe made Leah frown. Leah asked what the demonic catastrophe was. The traveler of graceful crane did not hide anything and explained it to him. Upon hearing that the land of 9 dynasties would be flattened by endless demons, Leah was also taken aback. "What you're saying is nonsense. To the south is the sea, and if we can't win, can't we escape? Do we have to rely on your 9 Nether Road?" Leah questioned. Through history, how many cultivators have ventured south? How many have returned? The demons on the sea are even more terrifying. If the cultivators of the 9 dynasties unite, might we not resist the demonic catastrophe? Beyond the 9 dynasties, demons have emerged that surpass the unification realm. Do you know what the unification realm means? It is a realm above the void-crossing realm. Such a supreme demon can sweep through the 9 dynasties alone. Besides, there isn't just one. They command endless demons under them. The traveler of graceful crane's tone was icy, as if he were narrating the fate of all beings. Liya remained silent. Above the unification realm. He couldn't help but think of the primordial ancestor of the Li family, wondering if the primordial ancestor had surpassed the unification realm. The traveler of graceful crane continued, I forgot to tell you, the ephemera sect also has entities that surpass the unification realm. When he arrives, it will be the day the supreme sect turns to ruins. Chapter 107 Holy Land. Death of the sect hierarch. Guan did not know what Liya had gone through. Every few days, he would use his divine sense to search the Taizong dynasty. Liya was currently practicing his sword techniques at the borderlands of the Taizong dynasty, with an additional soul within his body. It appeared that the graceful crane traveler had not lied to him. Next, he would wait for the ephemera sect to gather, and then wipe them out in one swoop. Ever since Guan had destroyed the ephemera tree, the ephemera sect had remained active, as if unaffected. It was apparent that there was more than one ephemera tree. The true enemy of the supreme sect was not the present ephemera sect, but the upcoming great cultivators of the ephemera sect main lineage. Guan prepared to find an opportunity to elevate his cultivation to the 9th layer of the Mahayana realm. The gap between each minor realm was significant, especially in the higher realms. After the new year, everything returned to normal. Lu Lingjun no longer came to see Guan. She worked daily, and in the evenings, she cultivated under the mystic pure tree. When Guan looked at her, he felt that she did not want to meet his gaze, perhaps it was just his illusion. An Xian quickly adapted to life in the 3rd Medicine Valley. With such a valley master, the disciples of the Medicine Valley were all kind-hearted. The people here did not prioritize cultivation, which made her feel quite relaxed. Spring passed and summer came. On this day, Guan turned 61 years old. Today, Tang Yu came to receive a foundation establishment pill from Guan. The entire Medicine Valley was bustling with excitement. Tang Yu represented their future, they seemed to see themselves breaking through to the foundation establishment stage. This also made Lu Lingjun rarely glance at Guan a few times, while an Xian completely let down her guard. She felt that she had misunderstood Guan. Guan was indeed a good person. Guan was not only good to his disciples, he spoke gently and never swore. He almost never wore a stern face and always smiled, giving people a sense of warmth. Sending off the disciples meant it was time to recruit new ones. Guan still let Xuan handle the recruiting, as it was a way to increase Xuan's authority. At noon, Ji Xiaoyu came to visit Guan. This top-ranking genius continued to cultivate her mind within the Medicine Valley, but they rarely interacted with the servant disciples, keeping their distance. I am preparing to leave and participate in the Holy Land assessment, Ji Xiaoyu said softly after sitting down. Holy Land? As Guan poured her tea, he curiously asked, what kind of force is the Holy Land, and where is it located? Ji Xiaoyu replied, the Holy Land is the oldest force on this continent, with a heritage spanning 10,000 years, located beyond the 9 dynasties. They do not concern themselves with worldly matters nor participate in any conflicts. Every 100 years, they recruit disciples. After training in the Holy Land, one must leave after a maximum of 100 years. How long one can stay depends entirely on their fortune. The Ji family rose to prominence because of the Holy Land's heritage. Upon hearing this, Guan became even more curious and asked, what does the Holy Land seek that they do not retain anyone? Ji Xiaoyu shook her head, no one knows. Even the elders who have been to the Holy Land rarely speak of it. They only say that entering the Holy Land offers a chance to seek the immortal path. How mysterious. I heard that a great demon catastrophe will occur in 100 years' time. Why does the Holy Land not take action? Guan continued to inquire. Ji Xiaoyu picked up her tea bowl and said, actually, a great demon catastrophe occurred even before the 9 dynasties. During that time, the continent was dominated by demons, and humans were barely surviving, raised as livestock by the demons and ghosts. Even then, the Holy Land did not intervene. Despite the absence of the Holy Land's intervention, humanity eventually rose, establishing the 9 dynasties. The elders of our clan say that the Holy Land has seen through worldly affairs. They do not care about the safety of individuals in a single lifetime but focus on the perpetual existence of the immortal cultivation Daoist tradition. Upon hearing this, Xuan's perception of the Holy Land changed. It appeared that the Holy Land was indeed transcendent from the mundane world. He then stopped asking questions and instead wished Ji Xiaoyu success in her Holy Land assessment, hoping for smooth sailing. Ji Xiaoyu did not stay long, as she had to leave today. Xuan escorted her downstairs and watched her leave. As Lu Lingjun walked by, she curiously asked, "Valley Master, who is that girl? She seems quite extraordinary." She had long noticed the 10 geniuses cultivating their minds in the Medicine Valley. Upon learning that these individuals were arranged by the sect leader and personally taught by Xuan, her view of him had changed. Among the 10, the one who piqued her interest the most was Ji Xiaoyu. She could sense the aura of the primordial Daoist talisman and even had an impulse to seize it, but she restrained herself. A true disciple of the sect and a lady from the Ji family, named Ji Xiaoyu. She is one of the top geniuses in the sect, Xuan introduced her. Indeed top-ranking, among the cultivators, with someone of higher lifespan than Ji Xiaoyu being only in Hao. And Hao had successfully achieved core formation and was rumored to have become a legend within the inner sect, unrivaled by anyone. Guyu even compared him to the true inheritor who was training outside. Many paths exist in this world. Not all geniuses need to participate in the 100 Clans tournament or join the Holy Land. Lu Lingjun nodded and then asked, "Valley Master, have you read the Supreme Secret Records?" Xuan's smile froze. He frowned and said, "Why are you reading such a book?" "Oh dear. When can we ever get rid of this wind within the Supreme Sect? Even the recent ascenders suffered because of it." Xuan could not help cursing Shenzhen in his heart again. "It was recommended to me by someone from the outer sect. Could it not have been written by the Valley Master?" "The main character's name is also Xuan," Lu Lingjun said truthfully. Xuan said furiously, "Do I look like that kind of person?" "Indeed you do not, so I wanted to ask," she said with a smile, feeling much more at ease as her suspicions dissolved, making Xuan much more agreeable. She had held back for a long time, and today she finally could not resist asking. "Next time I must investigate the book collection hall. Their oversight is inadequate, allowing such books to be sold." "You should destroy that book," Xuan said sternly. Lu Lingjun rarely saw him so serious, and inexplicably she felt happy. She asked with a smile, "Valley Master, do you think the Supreme Secret Records is better, or is the Green Hero Travelogue better?" These words stunned Xuan. Lu Lingjun did not wait for his answer, turned, and left. Xuan watched her back, wanting to say something, but in the end, it turned into a sigh. His reputation was ruined. He shook his head and turned towards the pavilion, simultaneously pulling out the Green Hero Travelogue from his sleeve. Since his reputation was already ruined, he might as well not hide it. The moon hung high, and stars were sparse in the Mystic Valley. Xuan was in the pavilion reading a secret book on cultivation techniques, which was a basic skill of the fire attribute. He had previously bought cultivation techniques of other attributes from the inner sect because seemingly no 5 elements skill existed, so he planned to comprehend it himself. Since he usually did not cultivate, what if he figured it out? Though his comprehension was poor, he had plenty of time on his hands. Until late at night, Xuan suddenly detected an aura entering within 100 miles of the Mystic Valley. A void-crossing realm cultivator. Such a cultivator hiding their aura and approaching the Mystic Valley was not a good sign. Xuan did not act immediately, as he suspected someone. Sure enough, after a while, Yang and I walked out of her courtyard and quietly left the Mystic Valley, quickly heading in the direction of the void-crossing realm great cultivator. Eventually, the two met in the woods over 30 miles away. In the dim forest, Yang and I stopped and looked at a figure under a tree in front of her. By the moonlight, she could see that it was a female cultivator. "You are a bit slow, Yang and I. Why have you stayed in the outer sect? Did Li Xiandao not arrange for you to enter the inner sect?" The female cultivator asked coldly. This female cultivator wore a purple dress, her hair styled into a bun with several jade hairpins inserted. She was graceful, with a beautiful face, and even though her eyes were full of coldness, they carried an allure. Yang and I replied, he did not. Li Xiandao directed me to protect an outer sect disciple closely connected to his son, Liya. Has Li Xiandao detected your true identity? I believe not, otherwise he would not have placed me with Liya. The ephemera tree was destroyed by a mysterious cultivator, and even the sect hierarch was killed. It was likely the work of a great cultivator from the Supreme Sect. You must find a way to investigate whether the Supreme Sect has any other cultivators above the fifth layer of the Unification Realm besides the sect leader. Above the fifth layer of the Unification Realm. Yang and I was taken aback and quickly said, with my cultivation level, how could I come into contact with someone from the Unification Realm? Based on the information from our contacts in the Hall of Elders, LV Badian has already failed to cross his tribulation, so he could not be the one who killed the sect hierarch. Such mystery leads us to suspect that it might be Sword Venerable Fudao. Since Sword Venerable Fudao became famous, our sect has been investigating him. After ruling out all possibilities, we can only speculate that Sword Venerable Fudao is a cultivator hiding his true cultivation level, possibly concealed in the outer sect where the heavenly repair platform is located. The purple-dressed woman's words made Yang and I frown. Of course, Sword Venerable Fudao is just a guess. Anyway, you need to find a way to investigate the outer sect. Yang and I, upon hearing this, could not help but say, I've been growing ephemera flowers and cannot leave. Cannot leave? The purple-dressed woman hesitated before she released her divine sense to probe the distant mystic valley. A few breaths later, she scoffed, that boy does have a good appearance. Yang Nis' expression changed. She quickly said, do not lay a hand on him. What is your relationship? He is not only the person whom Li Xiandao wants to protect but also the disciple I have just taken. Your disciple? How about I take him? Silence. Yang and I was furious, immediately taking out her treasure sword. The purple-dressed woman looked at her with contempt and said, I will return next year. If you cannot provide me with satisfactory information, that boy will be mine. After draining his vital energy, I will turn his bones into a pendant for you, so you can think of him whenever you miss him. After saying this, she turned and left. Yang and I watched the purple-dressed woman's back, her eyes filled with anger. However, her hand could not draw the treasure sword. Taking a deep breath, she could only turn back to the valley. Her movements were swift, as if she were afraid something might happen to Xuan. As she quickly returned towards the mystic valley, the purple-dressed woman walked through the forest, reflecting on Yang Nis' earlier reaction, a mocking smile on her face. Slap. A hand suddenly pressed down on the purple-dressed woman's shoulder, making her stop instantly, her pupils dilating. Reflexively, she turned her head, catching a glimpse of a deep purple demonic shadow. Thou, bang! A terrifying divine sense forcefully invaded her mind, leaving her gaze blank. Elsewhere. Yang and I returned to the mystic valley. She arrived below Xuan's pavilion and saw that the oil lamp inside was still lit. She could sense Xuan's presence, and she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Inside, Xuan sat at the table, the purple-dressed woman kneeling before him, his right hand pressing on her head as he used the soul-capturing skill. His spiritual power covered the purple-dressed woman, and the 9 extremes yin-yang Buddha's fortune enveloped her. Unless someone stepped inside, even a probe with divine sense would reveal neither her presence nor her aura. Chapter 108, Why Are You Forcing Me? Xuan originally just wanted to eavesdrop, but the woman in the purple dress used her divine sense to detect him and even showed hostility, implying that she wanted to tear him to pieces. Can this be tolerated? Xuan caught her directly. Before killing her, he first investigated the internal information of the ephemera sect. The woman's identity was obviously not simple, and he might get some useful information. The woman in the purple dress was named Xuan, previously an elder of the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. She joined the ephemera sect 200 years ago, and after the ephemera sect's defeat, she had been lurking within the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Yang and I was personally recruited by her. Yang and I joined the sect because Xuan promised to help her find the murderer of her sister. Xuan's purpose in recruiting Yang and I was to monitor Li Xiandao and Leah. Xuan felt that Leah, who had inherited the heavenly resident sword, might become the crown prince, so she first had Yang and I monitor this father and son pair, waiting for the ephemera sect's resurgence. Yang and I didn't completely trust Xuan, she just wanted an additional channel to find the truth. Little did she know, the person who killed her sister was Xuan herself. The power structure of the ephemera sect was very complex, with many branches. Every void-crossing realm elder was working to establish their own achievements. As long as their contributions were significant, they could walk the Nine Nether Road, seeking the immortal path. Xuan had only heard of the Nine Nether Road, never seen it. It was said that the Nine Nether Road could cross the ocean to another continent. The Nine Nether Road was the yin-yang path opened by the ephemera sect, passing through a ghostly realm where yin and yang intersected, filled with evil ghosts and extreme danger, but also full of opportunities. After investigating for a long time, Xuan still did not obtain information about the main lineage of the ephemera sect and could not understand how powerful it was. When he withdrew his divine sense, an hour had already passed. He looked down at Xuan's alluring face, his eyes full of disdain. When he used the soul-capturing skill earlier, he saw many unspeakable scenes. A demon cultivator is just a demon cultivator. Xuan immediately ended Xuan's life, then burned her body to ashes. This great cultivator of the void-crossing realm died silently. She contributed decades of lifespan to Xuan, which was passable. Afterward, Xuan began to inventory her 2 storage rings. Meanwhile, Yang and I was in her room, still unable to calm her mind and cultivate. Xuan's threats kept surfacing in her mind. Thinking about how Xuan got involved because of her, she felt guilty. It wasn't that she had special feelings for Xuan, it's just that after so many years together, their relationship had grown closer. Thinking that such a good-natured junior might be persecuted because of her made her uneasy. By dawn, Lu Jiujia called the disciples out for exercise, and Xuan went downstairs. The plan for a day lies in the morning, Yang and I, it's time to come out and practice. Xuan went outside Yang and I's courtyard and shouted. Yang and I quickly came out, only nodding slightly to Xuan as if nothing had happened the previous night. Xuan didn't say much, but he felt slightly relieved that Yang and I dared to draw her sword when threatened by Xuan the night before. Later on, I'll assign her more land to plant more flowers and plants. Ever since that night with Xuan, Yang and I went to the outer sect every 2 days, under the pretext of looking for high-rank seed. Xuan's routine remained undisturbed, still traveling between the 3 medicine valleys. At the end of summer, Xuan arrived at Tian Valley. Luohan and Yi Luyun had gone out, taking 3 monkey demons with them, leaving only Xian in the medicine valley. A great cultivator's cave was discovered thousands of miles away, with many heavenly materials and earthly treasures. Yi Luyun took them to fetch them and won't be back for a few days. Xian came to Xuan and explained. His gaze was fixed on Xuan, burning brightly. Xuan nodded slightly, then turned to walk toward the garden. Who are you really, Xuan? Xian's voice came from behind, his tone different from usual, carrying intense hostility. Xuan stopped and turned to look at Xian, smiling. What kind of deity am I? I'm just an ordinary cultivator who loves planting. This guy wasn't acting right. Why did it feel like he had changed? Could it be that another remnant soul in his body had taken control? Xuan wondered, confused. Xian sneered, his face becoming ferocious. I only taught you a few times, yet your mastery of mystic tortoise surging wave palm has already surpassed my 10 years of hard practice. Xuan raised an eyebrow. He didn't expect that holding back intentionally would still be noticed by Xian. This was troublesome. Xian took a step forward, the aura of core formation realm 9th layer erupted, lifting the fallen leaves on the ground like a tornado rising into the sky, creating a grand scene. Though it was the 9th layer of the core formation realm cultivation level, it could already match the aura of the lower nascent soul realm. As expected of the Supreme Sect's former number 1 genius. I discovered that cave long ago, calculated the day you would come and sent them away in advance. Today, let's have a showdown. LV Xian sneered. His right palm began to accumulate spiritual power, the space under his palm fluctuating violently like surging waves. Guan raised his hand and said, "Don't mess around, I really am not a genius, why target me? I have no threat to you. If you mess around, I'll have to kill you." LV Xian licked his lips and said, "Don't worry, I won't kill you, I just want to test your depth. If you continue to hide your strength, you'll suffer the same fate as Leah." At this remark, Guan's gaze turned cold. "Try my mystic tortoise surging wave palm." LV Xian shouted, striking out with a palm. The palm wind swept out, shaking heaven and earth, and the wild wind rose from the ground, bringing overwhelming pressure toward Guan, lifting the grass of the lawn, and filling the air with dust. Boom! The palm wind of the mystic tortoise surging wave palm soared into the sky, forming a nearly 100-zhang high airwave wall, spectacular beyond compare. LV Xian's smile froze. Looking in the direction of his gaze, Guan stood still behind the airwave, his palm power forcibly blocked. The medicinal herbs in all the gardens behind Guan swayed in the wind but remained in the soil, untouched. At this moment, Guan's face was expressionless, and his entire temperament suddenly changed, making LV Xian feel unfamiliar. "You," LV Xian trembled in his voice, seeing Guan step toward him. With just one step, Guan crossed several zhang, arriving in front of him. Boom! LV Xian's aura was directly dispersed. The terrifying power made him fall back, sitting paralyzed on the ground, without the demeanor of the top of the hidden dragon list. Guan raised his right hand, looking down at him, his palm facing his head. LV Xian was horrified to find himself unable to move, suppressed by an overwhelming spiritual power he could not resist. Divinity transformation, LV Xian gritted his teeth. His judgment was correct, Guan indeed suppressed his realm at the divinity transformation realm, enough to overshadow him easily. "Why did you have to force me?" Guan looked down at LV Xian and asked softly. The murderous intent in his eyes became tangible, making LV Xian feel the breath of death. His expressionless face was so terrifying that LV Xian had never seen such a frightening expression. "Wait!" LV Xian quickly shouted, showing a panic-stricken look for the first time. Guan just quietly looked down at him. Actually, Guan didn't want to kill him. After all, LV Xian was LV Baishan's son, and LV Xian had no malice towards him, indicating he really just wanted to spar. To avoid being entangled, Guan could only use the power of the divinity transformation realm to scare him to the core. "I was wrong, don't kill me," LV Xian gritted his teeth, lowering his proud head, not daring to look at Guan. He was still paralyzed on the ground, unable to get up, and felt humiliated in this posture. "But you've exposed my real cultivation level, and I'll definitely face endless trouble in the future. This makes me very troubled. I just want to plant my plants in peace, why do you have to force me, why?" Guan said coldly. By the end, his voice sounded like a low roar, his features contorting as if he were about to go insane. LV Xian looked up, frightened by his hysterical expression, and quickly said, "I will never tell. I swear. I promise." Guan's right hand began to gather spiritual power, the terrifying power of the divinity transformation realm making LV Xian shiver with fear. "Wait, I know the whereabouts of an 8th-rank spirit flower. This flower has been maturing for hundreds of years and hasn't turned into a spirit yet. Don't you love planting flowers? You can go get it," LV Xian said urgently, shaking with fear. Guan's expression changed, squinting as he asked, "Where is it?" LV Xian felt the oppressive force weaken, hurriedly taking out a map from his storage bag. "This is the map. I got it from an old senior when I participated in the 100 Clans Assembly." Guan took the map, glanced at it briefly, then put it into his storage bag. He looked back at LV Xian, frowning. "Will you really not tell anyone? If I reveal your cultivation level, they'll suffer inner demon invasion during tribulation crossing and perish." LV Xian immediately swore. Hearing this, Guan retracted his aura, his cultivation level returning to the Foundation establishment realm. The flowers in the Medicine Valley stopped swaying, and Xuan breathed a sigh of relief, sweating profusely and panting heavily. Guan returned to his usual gentle expression. He pulled Xuan up, patted the dust off him. "Brother LV, pardon the offense. Promise me, don't make such jokes next time, it's not funny." Hearing this, Xuan forced a smile. Then, Guan turned and left, heading for the garden. Watching his back, Xuan remained silent for a long time. Half an hour later, Guan greeted Xuan before leaving. Xuan sat on the lawn, staring at the sun in the sky, dazed. Day turned to night, and for 2 consecutive days and nights, he did not get up. Until Luo Han, Yi Luyun, and the 3 monkey demons returned, chatting and laughing, obviously having had a great haul. Yi Luyun saw Xuan sitting dazed on the ground, smiled, and asked, "Xuan, why aren't you cultivating?" Xuan's body trembled slightly. He turned to Yi Luyun and asked, "Do you think I can achieve divinity transformation before 100? He knew Guan's age because Guan was about the same age as Leah. If you hadn't wasted time before, you could definitely reach divinity transformation before 100. Unfortunately, you're already 90. It's hard to go from the 9th layer of the core formation realm to the 1st layer of the divinity transformation realm in 10 years, Luyun shook his head and said. Luo Han suggested, His Majesty values you so highly. Just ask, and he'll provide you with a large amount of elixir. Xuan remained silent. He fell into self-doubt, wondering if he really was not a genius. Chapter 109, Ancestor Tian, heaven-cutting divine acts. Since Xuan had been disciplined by Guan, he thoroughly became honest. When Guan went to Wuxia Valley again, Xuan was always in closed-door cultivation. Luo Han said he wanted to reach the divinity transformation realm as soon as possible. Guan asked for the reason, but Luo Han said he didn't know. This made Guan feel at ease. Xuan might be crazy, but he was tight-lipped. This matter passed. Guan studied the map given by Xuan. It was too far from the Taizong dynasty, so he could only set it aside for now. What if that place had Mahayana cultivators? He couldn't take the risk. Now the lifespan income from the 3 medicine valleys was considerable. Even if he didn't improve, he could quickly expand his lifespan. In the blink of an eye. 2 months had passed. The autumnal scenery of withered yellow covered the mystic valley. On this day, near noon, Yilan came to visit her. Having not seen each other for nearly a year, Yilan missed Guan a lot. As soon as she entered the room, she hugged him. Junior sister. Guan said in a deep voice, with a tone of reproach. Yilan let go of him and laughed, saying, What's wrong with hugging? This is a ceremony for reunion after a long separation between senior and junior apprentices. Senior brother, don't think too much. I don't want any romantic affairs now, I just want to cultivate immortality. Guan rolled his eyes at her and then turned to make her tea. He had just instinctively performed a lifespan detection on Yilan, which made him feel a bit heavy-hearted. Yilan, Foundation Establishment Realm 5th Layer 56/130/130. The regular lifespan for the Foundation Establishment Realm exceeded 200, but Yilan's Foundation Establishment was built up with Guan's elixirs, so it had already reached its limit. What would happen when Yilan reached the age of 130? Would it be celestial decline and sudden death, or demonic possession, causing qi blood to attack the heart? Guan sighed inwardly and decided to teach Yilan the Daoist expansion skill. With 74 years left, perhaps it could be effective. The Daoist expansion skill was a process of accumulating spiritual power. Guan had a bold idea. What would happen when practicing the Daoist expansion skill while frantically consuming spirit energy elixirs? Yilan didn't know what her senior brother was thinking and began to narrate what she had seen and heard during her recent outing. The law enforcement hall went out to protect the crown princely Dai. The enemies were from the Ephemera sect. Over the past half year, she had experienced 7 or 8 battles and survived without danger. Guan had known about this for a long time because he occasionally used his divine sense to check on her. The disciples of the law enforcement hall were basically scouts. The real fighters were several nascent soul realm cultivators. Senior brother, the reason we were able to come back was that a void-crossing realm great cultivator came to protect the crown prince. Above the nascent soul realm is the divinity transformation, and above the divinity transformation is the void-crossing realm. That senior was amazing. He killed the ephemera sex demon cultivator in the divinity transformation realm with one palm. At that time, we all thought we were doomed, but it turned out the crown prince had such a master behind him. They say he is not even a cultivator of the supreme sect. Yilan seemed very excited when she talked about the great cultivator in the void-crossing realm. Guan raised an eyebrow, pretending to be shocked. That powerful? How old is he? It said he's already 900 years old. Yilan said this while carefully observing Guan's expression. She once suspected Guan was Sword Venerable Fudao. During the outer sect chaos, her white spirit sword sensed the Qinghong sword. The words righteous path carved on the heavenly repair platform were also made by the Qinghong sword. However, after her research, she learned that Sword Venerable Fudao was at least a cultivation beyond the divinity transformation realm, which made her a bit hesitant. She had grown up with Guan and knew his age. A void-crossing realm in his tens of years? That was unheard of in the immortal cultivation world. Moreover, Guan never admitted that he was Sword Venerable Fudao, so she suspected he might be a disciple of Sword Venerable Fudao. Regardless of the situation, Yilan felt that she was unworthy of her senior brother. Therefore, she rarely expressed her feelings nowadays, focusing more energy on her cultivation. When her cultivation level was raised and her senior brother wanted a Daoist friend, that would be her chance. Guan sighed, "Junior sister, you're encountering cultivators of higher and higher realms now, but your own cultivation seems hard to improve. How about practicing my cultivation technique?" "What cultivation technique?" Yilan asked curiously. Guan's Gale Shadowless Leg was already her strongest combat means, so she didn't underestimate his cultivation techniques. Perhaps this technique was passed down by Sword Venerable Fudao. Guan began to introduce the Daoist expansion skill, and Yilan listened intently. When Guan finished, Yilan couldn't help but ask, "Senior brother, you possess so many medicinal herbs, but your cultivation hasn't improved much. Is it because of the Daoist expansion skill?" Guan nodded, "This is an ultimate skill. I'm only passing it on to you, so you must not tell anyone else." Hearing this, Yilan's heart sweetened. She hesitated, "If I practice the Daoist expansion skill, will it burden you more?" She understood that Guan would continuously provide her with elixirs to aid her cultivation, which would inevitably delay his own cultivation. Guan laughed, "If you're worried, don't practice. Just wait until your lifespan runs out, and your senior brother will live for another few hundred years. By then, I can take several junior sisters and enjoy the bliss of having many companions." "No, I'll practice," Yilan said, glaring. Guan immediately took out the already written Daoist expansion skill and handed it to her. After accepting the Daoist expansion skill, Yilan took out a black wood box from her storage bag. "This is a gift prepared for you. I planned to give it after our conversation, but you gave me the cultivation technique first, which makes my sentiments seem inadequate." Guan took the black wood box and smiled, "Junior sister, what are you talking about? You've given me so many good things over the years. You are undoubtedly the best to me." The 6-layer human face tree was given by Yilan. Besides, she brought various medicinal herbs every time she visited Guan. Guan had also declined, but Yilan convinced him by repaying the elixir's kindness. Rejecting more would seem uncaring, so now the two of them exchanged gifts and were both happy about it. Upon hearing Guan's words, Yilan smiled and introduced, "This is a dark vine, probably at the 5th layer, though it's just a small section. It requires planting for a dozen or so years to fully rejuvenate. Once grown, it can guard the house and block divine sense." Guan opened it and saw a piece of something resembling black coal, with faint vitality. He wasn't disappointed. Yilan's cultivation was limited, so obtaining this remnant was already good. The previous human-faced tree was also just a root, now recovering vitality. Then, Yilan continued to talk about the events in the immortal cultivation world during this period. Guan listened attentively, enjoying his time. Recently, a group of mysterious cultivators emerged in the immortal cultivation world, known as 9 Nether 13 Evil. They broke into Wanin's sect, seized Wanin's sect's treasure, and left. Their strength shocked the immortal cultivation world. Besides, another major event was the ancient Sky sect nurturing a holy beast Sky Dragon. The whole sect was invigorated, and various states discussed it, claiming the ancient Sky sect was rising. The holy beast was none other than the Sky Dragon Guan raised. He had previously checked on the ancient Sky sect, and seeing the Sky Dragon being well taken care of, he didn't worry. According to Yilan, the immortal cultivation world was relatively peaceful. The ephemera sect had also settled down, no longer fighting to death with the demon path. But Guan knew this was just the calm before the storm. When the great cultivators of the ephemera sect main lineage arrived, the immortal cultivation world would again be engulfed in a bloody storm. In the depths of night, the North Sea mountain range, spiritual energy began to descend, disturbing all beings once again. Guan was meditating within a barrier, enjoying the improvement in his cultivation. He had spent 3,000 years of life to reach the 9th layer of the Mahayana realm. After a short hour passed, he invested another 50,000 years of life into alchemy. Previously, he intended to improve his alchemy skills on his own, but later realized alchemy also required talent. Investing 50,000 years of life elevated his alchemy to the Tai Ching elixir path, greatly enhancing his comprehension of alchemy. A vast amount of knowledge surged into his mind, and he immersed himself in it. The alchemy he practiced was the basic alchemy of the supreme sect. Different sects' alchemy had differences, resulting in diverse elixir paths. The Tai Ching elixir path included a spell named Tai Ching True Fire, helping better in alchemy and capable of killing enemies. These 50,000 years of life were well spent. When Guan woke up, he lifted his right hand, and a blue flame ignited on his fingertip, a smile appearing on his lips. He then looked at his attribute panel, still having 490,000 years of life, feeling exceedingly wealthy. He closed the lifespan barrier and stood up, preparing to leave. His gaze suddenly fell on the nearby mountain wall. Because of the disturbance caused by the descending spiritual energy, the weeds in front of the mountain wall were tilted in all directions. Upon closer inspection, there was a crack from which strands of spiritual energy leaked, and this spiritual energy was unusual, not the common 5-element spiritual energy. He immediately walked over, arriving before the mountain wall, and infused his divine sense into it. Soon, his divine sense encountered a restriction. Breaking through required at least void-crossing realm cultivation. He instantly understood and didn't forcibly break the restriction. Instead, he used the 9 extremes yin-yang body, turning into a demonic shadow and stepping forward with limitless freedom step, crossing in one step. Passing through layers of restrictions, he reached a spacious underground area. This space was larger than the 8 scenic caves. In the center, there was an underground lake with a grassland about 300 meters long and 100 meters wide beside it, along with a row of old trees. Under one of the old trees stood a dilapidated wooden house. His divine sense didn't detect any cultivator or demon presence, yet the underground lake had many fish, even one 2 meters long, resembling a spirit beast. Guan walked forward and passed a stele with 4 large characters inscribed on it. Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. The spiritual energy here was abundant, even stronger than the 8 scenic caves. He performed a lifespan detection on the row of trees. They were all 6-layer spirit trees, named heart-clearing trees. Excellent. Guan was suddenly delighted. If no one lived here, it could become his 4th Medicine Valley. The Mystic Valley, 3rd Medicine Valley, and Tian Valley were under others' watchful eyes. His treasures were all kept in the 8 scenic caves, but the space there was limited. Guan reached the wooden house, where there was a stone table covered in moss, with 2 books lying on it. One was a nameless book, and the other a secret book. Heaven-cutting divine axe. What a domineering name. Guan picked up the nameless book and started reading. It was a testament left by the owner of the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion. The mansion owner was known as Ancestor Tian, and surprisingly, he was a mystic heart realm cultivator. Guan read on, frowning slightly. Ancestor Tian was actually a supreme elder of the Supreme Sect. After leaving the Supreme Sect, he established the Mystic Heaven Cave Mansion here, intending to seek enlightenment. Later, he experienced deviation and, before his death, decided to leave the cave mansion and head towards the demon land beyond the 9 dynasties. The heaven-cutting divine axe was Ancestor Tian's ultimate skill, inherited from the Holy Land, one of the Holy Land's 9 great inheritances. Chapter 110, 9 Styles of Heaven Cutting. The breath from afar, bitterly contemplating for 800 years, swallowing countless elixirs, finally achieving mystic heart realm, but unable to escape the heart demon tribulation at the end of life. I hate. Guan recited a passage from the nameless book, furrowing his brows. The hatred of Ancestor Tian leaped off the page. It was a hatred towards the heavens. He hated that after achieving mystical heart realm, he was struck by heart demons before he could enjoy it. After reading, Guan immediately thought of the limit of lifespans. In the vast universe, it seemed like a certain fate bound all beings. The lifespan limit of Ancestor Tian might only have been enough to barely reach the unification realm, but with vast resources, he forcibly achieved the mystic heart realm, yet his lifespan did not extend, ultimately facing heart demons and the calamity of death. The more Guan thought, the more plausible it seemed. For all beings cultivating to immortality, it was less a struggle against the heavens than a struggle against destiny. Guan believed that fate could certainly be broken. He himself was the best example. The lifespan limit he perceived might just be a reminder of the existence of fate. Besides his ability to seize lifespans, there must be other opportunities in this world to help break the lifespan limit. He just hadn't found them yet. Because achieving eternal life was so difficult, that's why so many people sacrificed themselves without regret. Let's see if the Daoist expansion skill worked. If it did, he could potentially use part of his lifespan to enhance the Daoist expansion skill. Guan felt hopeful, because Wuxian's lifespan far exceeded that of others in the same realm. He continued to read further, finding records of Ancestor Tian's life events, from joining the Supreme Sect to competing for the position of sect leader. It read like a novel, with the brief descriptions sparking endless imagination. After finishing the testament, he threw the book into his storage bag, then picked up the heaven-cutting divine axe secret book to check. He became increasingly engrossed, as if a figure wielding a great axe danced in his pupils. The heaven-cutting divine axe had 9 forms in total: severing life, severing demons, severing ghosts, severing mountains, severing seas, severing magic, severing immortals, severing gods, severing heaven. It sounded domineering, but he wondered if it could really sever immortals and heavens. The 9 forms were not 9 levels but 9 techniques. Ancestor Tian had mastered all 9 forms and faced no adversary before his deviation. He swept through the 9 realms of the immortal cultivation world, establishing the Supreme Sect's renown. However, he didn't leave the heaven-cutting divine axe at the Supreme Sect because it was a Holy Land's legacy, not to be passed on to others. If discovered by the Holy Land, his cultivation level would be abolished, a point specially noted in his testament. After skimming through, Guan threw the secret book into the storage bag. He turned and walked into the dilapidated wooden house. Everything inside was old and worn, the floor covered in weeds, with an axe standing in the center, covered in dust. He walked over to the axe and blew gently, causing the dust to instantly vanish, revealing a black axe. The heaven-cutting axe, a supreme-grade magic artifact, also forged from North Sea nether iron, and it was millions of years old, heavier and capable of withstanding more spiritual power than Li Ya's North Sea heavy sword. Guan grasped the heaven-cutting axe, raising an eyebrow. It was heavy. Despite being a Mahayana cultivator and having cultivated the primordial Rui skill with immense chi force, even he could feel the weight, showing just how heavy this heaven-cutting axe was. There was no need to use the techniques of the heaven-cutting divine axe. It felt like just smashing someone with it could crush them. When Guan lifted the heaven-cutting axe, it seemed light in his serious grip. He wielded it with ease. He considered putting this treasure into the storage bag, but it was repelled by the bag's spatial restriction. It wouldn't fit. Interesting. Guan immediately put down the heaven-cutting axe and examined the surroundings, finding nothing else of value in the house. Immediately, he stepped outside the mystic heaven cave mansion, sealing the crack on the mountain wall. Being a 5 elements treasure body now, he had perfect earth attribute aptitude, capable of condensing spiritual power into earth. After completely sealing the crack, Guan felt relieved. From now on, this would be his cave mansion. Guan felt joyful, his lips curved upwards, stepping into the mystic heaven cave mansion once again. Preparing the land. Late autumn, in the 3rd Medicine Valley, the disciples were sweeping fallen leaves. Lu Lingjun suddenly looked towards the sky, seeing a figure swiftly approaching. She frowned slightly, secretly startled. 9th level of the Unification Realm. The newcomer was LV Badian. LV Badian quickly arrived at the pavilion where Guan lived, then stepped onto the stairs. Lu Lingjun withdrew her gaze, curious about the person's identity. Despite many visits to the 3rd Medicine Valley, LV Badian had never revealed his true identity. When talking to an Hao and an Xian, he was always said to be a senior of the sect. Entering the house, LV Badian closed the door and set a restriction, making it impossible to eavesdrop. Guan put down the book in his hand and smiled. Sect leader, why are you here? He stood up to make tea. No need to bother, sit down, let's chat. LV Badian waved his hand, walked to the table, raised his hand to pull over a chair, and sat down. Guan followed and sat down, asking, what do you want to chat about? What could I chat with you about? Not about taking in disciples again. Guan secretly complained, as a dignified Mahayan-level cultivator, it was impossible for him to take a master. Let's talk about Li Xiandao. LV Badian said, staring at Guan. Guan asked in surprise, what happened to him? Crown Prince Li Dai had his golden core dug out, his nascent soul and cultivation level were abolished, and a void-crossing realm cultivator protecting him also perished. LV Badian's words moved Guan. He was genuinely a bit surprised. Right after the Supreme Sect's law enforcement hall left, Li Xiandao made a move. Just entering the void-crossing realm and able to kill someone at the same level? Quite impressive. Methods of void-crossing realm great cultivators varied widely, even facing the same level, escaping should not be difficult. Don't look at Guan easily killing void-crossing realm cultivators. He did so by suppressing his higher realm to a lower realm, giving enemies no time to escape. LV Badian asked, does Li Xiandao have a void-crossing realm cultivator beside him? Guan helplessly said, if there is, I can't see it either. LV Badian paused, finding it reasonable, his expression easing. With the Crown Prince dead, Supreme Sect can only support Leia. The throne must be held by a prince of the Supreme Sect. Unfortunately, Leia has been away for years. LV Badian sighed. If not for the impending attack by the Ephemera Sect, would have already abolished Li Xiandao. Guan asked curiously, why abolish him? LV Badian said, he has been emperor for nearly 200 years. Taitsang world is in turmoil, plagued by evil spirits, with widespread grievances. Changing the emperor to worship the heavens might reverse the Qi fortune, yet he has roped in several elders from the Hall of Elders, making it difficult for me to force him to abdicate, and by the time I recovered my cultivation level, the Ephemera Sect arrived. It's been endless trouble. Speaking of the Ephemera Sect, he grew visibly annoyed. Guan couldn't tell if he truly cared about the people, or simply disliked Li Xiandao. Both provided high-rank medical herbs to Guan, so he couldn't take sides and could only watch their struggle from the sidelines. Li Xiandao indeed had great means, keeping a cultivator at the 9th level of the Unification Realm hesitant to act, while rapidly growing. If LV Badian knew Li Xiandao was already at the Void-Crossing Realm, he would probably go to kill Li Xiandao now. LV Badian began to discuss the Ephemera Sect, revealing that the Venerable Pavilion had collected numerous clues about the sect. Shockingly, there were multiple spies from the Ephemera Sect within the Hall of Elders. This greatly incensed LV Badian, having just cleared out a batch of Demon Path spies years ago. He never expected there to be this most hated Ephemera sect spies left. I received intelligence that the Ephemera sect hierarch Zhong Liang died, killed by someone unknown, and now the Ephemera sect is behaving quietly, awaiting the arrival of head lineage cultivators, suspecting I killed Zhong Liang. Laughable, I suspect internal conflict among themselves. LV Badian sneered. Guan curiously asked, why are the Ephemera sect and Demon Path battles concentrated in the North Sea Mountain? LV Badian replied, because most Ephemera sect high-level members are in the North Sea Mountain, seeking a fortuitous opportunity related to our sect. What opportunity? We had a Supreme Elder 1,000 years ago who attained path enlightenment in the North Sea Mountain, surpassing the unification realm, and then disappeared. However, legends noted that he left behind the sect's supreme treasure, the heaven-cutting axe, which cannot be placed into storage Dharma artifacts, involved in a significant legacy the Ephemera sect has been seeking. As expected. Guan was secretly pleased. After years of searching, the Ephemera sect still hadn't found it, yet he stumbled upon it unintentionally. It seems suppressing spiritual energy was not without benefits. The heaven-cutting axe is not simple, it is said to be related to the Holy Land. In 3,000 years, only that Supreme Elder had inherited such a high-level legacy from the Holy Land. He was also my martial master. LV Badian said with emotion. Ancestor Tian was indeed extraordinary. Guan thought of the weight of the heaven-cutting axe, finding it reasonable. LV Badian clearly revered Ancestor Tian, recounting his deeds. Though he had never met Ancestor Tian, he often heard his master mention him. His master said Ancestor Tian never tasted defeat, able to carve a path through any number of enemies, even venturing south for adventures, purportedly obtaining immortal sorcery before returning to retreat. However, Guan knew Ancestor Tian never obtained immortal sorcery. He had roamed the sea for years, nearly killed by the Demon King, forced to flee back, hoping to reach Mystic Heart Realm and venture again. Unfortunately, he never succeeded before death. Guan suddenly thought of the true inheritor's outside training. He might have also gone to the sea. It was said the true inheritor was more formidable than LV Badian, likely reaching the Mystic Heart Realm. However, when Guan mentioned the true inheritor, LV Badian grew displeased, not wanting to discuss it further. Clearly, their relationship was poor. As LV Badian spoke, he suddenly halted. Guan felt a strong aura approaching from the north, but he feigned ignorance, as LV Badian was present. LV Badian turned, looking towards the sky outside the window, muttering, "Has it finally come?" Guan confusedly asked, "What has come?" LV Badian stood, saying, "Nothing, I have matters to attend to." He quickly left. Guan hurriedly rose to see him off, escorting him to the entrance. Guan noticed Lu Lingjun sensing the distant strong aura, frowning deeply. Feeling Guan's gazes, Lu Lingjun glanced at him, then resumed sweeping. Guan looked in the direction LV Badian left, wondering, what was the origin of that aura? It didn't feel like a cultivator's aura, it had an indescribable odd feeling. Chapter 111, The Attack of the Mystic Heart. The sky was cloudless for miles, and below, a vast barren plain stretched endlessly. Cracks crisscrossed the earth, which, upon closer inspection, were canyons. In a flat expanse of this barren land, a massive plume of dark energy hovered, resembling a rift. At the base of the dark energy was a circular array platform with a diameter exceeding 3 zhang. It was engraved with complex and profound runes, and spiritual energy surged, causing them to emit a faint sheen. In front of the array platform, a group of ephemera sect cultivators stood waiting. Their numbers exceeded 1,000, and among them were Jianghu and Xuan. At the forefront stood an old man in a gray robe, holding a wooden staff. His back was hunched as he gazed expectantly at the black energy in the sky. Ephemera sect main branch, Jianghu watched the spatial disturbances within the dark energy, feeling very tense. Having joined the ephemera sect for a while, she had come to understand it deeply. The ephemera sect in the 9 Dynasties territory was merely a branch and could not be compared to the main branch. Suddenly, a flash of lightning burst out from the dark energy, followed by expansion, revealing an expanse of dark red sky inside, with faint billows of ominous clouds. The old man in the gray robe suddenly knelt down and loudly exclaimed, "Welcome, Lord of the Main Branch." As he knelt, the other ephemera sect cultivators followed suit, repeating his words in unison. The 1,000 voices combined into a deafening roar. Under everyone's gaze, a figure emerged from the dark energy, stepping out with his back towards the dark red sky. This was a man dressed in a tight purple robe, with a gold-trimmed red scarf around his waist. His robe was adorned with images of ephemera flowers, and the back was embroidered with an ephemera tree. His face was handsome, his expression aloof, and his snow-white hair was coiled under a purple jade crown set with a red gemstone that resembled a sinister eye at a glance. With his hands behind his back, he looked down at the cult, slowly saying, "Who is Elder Chi-Han?" The old man in the gray robe quickly answered, reporting to the Lord, "That would be me." The man in the purple robe maintained his lofty stance, not deigning to descend. He calmly said, "Find someone to lead me to the supreme sect, the rest of you stay here and wait for the main branch to arrive." Chi-Han Elder asked excitedly, "Are more seniors from the main branch coming?" "Yes, it's time for the ephemera to bloom." The mysterious aura was too far from the supreme sect, beyond even the range of divine sense of those in the Mahayana realm. Guan did not act rashly. His intuition told him that the aura was related to the main branch of the ephemera sect. Without knowing the strength of the main branch of the ephemera sect, he wouldn't act on impulse. Although from Zhong Liang and Su Shan's memories, it seemed the ephemera sect was waiting for great cultivators of the mystic heart realm. With Gu An's extermination of the ephemera tree, the situation might change. What if more than one great cultivator of the mystic heart realm arrived? Moreover, the supreme sect was deeply rooted and might not need his intervention. Perhaps the supreme elder would return. Leaving aside the supreme elder, the Ji family and Gu family also had unfathomable depths. Guan searched the Taizong dynasty with his divine sense but couldn't find the main families of these two houses, likely hidden within minor heaven and earth realms. In this world, there existed multiple minor heavens and earths, akin to innate spatial restrictions, or as one might describe using earthly terms, alternate dimensions. The day after Liu Beidian left, the atmosphere in the Supreme Sect became tense. Numerous core formation realm and nascent soul realm cultivators flew over the Third Medicine Valley towards the outer sect. Even the 9 geniuses cultivating in the Medicine Valley were summoned, bidding farewell to Guan. Every disciple had their own identity token, and the Supreme Sect could use these tokens to transmit orders to everyone, including those on missions outside. Xuan approached Guan nervously and asked, "Senior brother, what happened this time? Could it be the ephemera sect attacking?" Every time he visited the outer gate city, he heard other disciples discussing the ephemera sect. The ephemera sect had swept through the demon paths undefeated and had caused significant trouble for the Supreme Sect 200 years ago, making all disciples feel threatened. "I don't know. Don't overthink it. Our task is to grow medicinal herbs. If a battle truly breaks out, we wouldn't be of much use anyway. Trust in the sect." Guan reassured him. Xuan found this reasonable but still couldn't stop his thoughts from drifting to the outer sect. Guan turned and left to harvest the matured herbs. Even if the sky were to fall, the Supreme Sect would bear it first. Harvesting herbs and flowers was the top priority. An ancient hour later, Guan returned to the pavilion and drew the Qinghong sword, starting to swing it. He rarely practiced swordsmanship, attracting the attention of many disciples who thought he sensed the crisis and followed his example, beginning to practice their own spells. Lu Lingjun also glanced at Guan, shaking her head involuntarily. Gu An's sword moves were very strange, looking more like axe techniques than swordsmanship to her. Perhaps the Valley Master was just soothing his nervous emotions. After watching for a bit, Lu Lingjun turned and walked toward a distant mountain to get a better view of the outer sect and understand the situation more clearly. Guan wasn't truly practicing swordsmanship but rather the heaven-cutting divine axe technique. He purposefully used a sword to avoid drawing attention, as the heaven-cutting divine axe hadn't left any legacy in the Supreme Sect, so no one knew how to use it. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed. On this day, after settling matters at Mystic Valley, Xuan went to the third Medicine Valley to continue harvesting herbs. The third Medicine Valley covered an area of 100 miles, with so many herbs that some matured every day. Xuan would leave some each time he harvested to ensure a stable source of lifespan income. The herbs didn't lose their effectiveness for several months after maturing. After gaining 5,000 years of lifespan, Xuan had a servant disciple deliver the herbs to the storage building and then sought out Lu Lingjun. "I plan to visit the outer sect. Do you want to come?" Xuan asked. Lu Lingjun had previously mentioned she wanted to join him on his next trip to the outer sect. Of course, a deeper reason was that he wanted to bring another powerful ally to the supreme sect. Lu Lingjun agreed immediately, nodding as she had been eager to see the commotion after 3 days of watching. Thus, Xuan and Lu Lingjun headed to the outer sect. Upon arrival, Xuan agreed to meet Lu Lingjun at the heavenly repair platform in the evening and then went his own way. So considerate, Lu Lingjun thought as she watched Xuan's back. She turned to look at the sky above the South City Gate, where numerous great cultivators hovered. Each one had a large banner behind them, numbering 1,000, surrounding the entire outer sect city. The cultivation level of these people was at least nascent soul realm. One city of the outer sect boasted so many high-level cultivators. Lu Lingjun had used her divine sense to check the other cities, finding similar situations, marveling at the depth of the supreme sect's power. With the current strength displayed by the supreme sect, she believed it could easily sweep through the mortal world she came from. Meanwhile, Xuan found Jinqin of the Law Enforcement Hall. The Law Enforcement Hall hadn't been assigned combat duties but was patrolling the city to prevent ephemera sect cultivators from infiltrating. Xuan pulled Jinqin to the side of the street, retrieved a Daoist expansion skill from his storage bag, and handed it to her, saying, "Keep this well and train hard with it when you return. Don't tell anyone, not even Marshal Uncle Yi." Jinqin glanced at it and saw it was a cultivation technique, instantly excited and nodding quickly. She knew Xuan's status in the inner sect with Medicine Valley was far above hers, and whatever he gave her would be exceptional. She had been struggling to advance her cultivation level for years despite practicing Jiang Qiong's technique. After a brief chat, the two parted ways. Xuan didn't seek out Yilan as she was attending an outer sect meeting at the Great Elder's residence. The entire Supreme Sect was on high alert for battle. Xuan chose this day to visit the outer sect city because he sensed an aura exceeding the unification realm entering the Taizong dynasty, approaching the Supreme Sect. Mystic Heart Realm. The pace was not fast, as someone was guiding, or perhaps he was exerting pressure on the Supreme Sect, flaunting his powerful aura. Even Divinity Transformation Realm and Void Crossing Realm cultivators could feel it, which explained the tense atmosphere of the Supreme Sect. Xuan didn't plan to take action rashly, he wanted to gauge the sect's resilience. Not every enemy should rely on him to resolve. While killing cultivators could grant him lifespan, it wasn't much different from harvesting herbs in value, so he wasn't eager for combat. Of course, if many enemies showed up, he wouldn't mind claiming some kills. Xuan walked to the heavenly repair platform, standing behind the ghost mother of ephemera, pretending to sense the sword intent on the platform. "Gu Xiaoyu, what brings you here?" a voice called out, and the mad swordsman of Great Yu, Han Ming, approached with a smile. He walked behind the ghost mother of ephemera, exchanging pleasantries with Xuan. The ghost mother of ephemera remained unresponsive, her eyes closed. Despite the impending battle, there were still hundreds of cultivators on the platform seeking enlightenment. Han Ming, at the 5th level of the Void Crossing Realm, didn't realize the female disciple meditating beside him was an old monster of the 2nd level of the Unification Realm. After exchanging a few polite words, Xuan curiously asked, "With the ephemera sect attacking, why haven't you left? Aren't you afraid of getting caught in the crossfire?" "The ephemera sect is nothing. They have lost to the Supreme Sect before and will likely lose again. The Supreme Sect has too many great cultivators and old monsters. You can watch the battle and learn more about the sect's strength," Han Ming chuckled. His words piqued Xuan's curiosity even more, leading him to ask about the powerful cultivators in the Supreme Sect. Han Ming shared what he knew, drawing the attention of nearby disciples who couldn't resist eavesdropping. 90% of the Supreme Sect disciples were unaware of the full extent of the sect's strength due to its enormity. The ghost mother of Ephemera seemed disturbed, stood up and prepared to move. Guan deliberately turned his back on her, pretending to retreat naturally, and bumped into her. Realizing he had bumped into someone, Guan immediately apologized. "Miss, I'm sorry." The ghost mother of Ephemera frowned but shook her head slightly, saying nothing. She walked past Guan. "Stop." Han Ming's voice suddenly rang out, his gaze fixed on the ghost mother of Ephemera. The ghost mother of Ephemera halted. Curious looks surrounded them as Han Ming was a prominent figure on the heavenly repair platform, and his actions drew attention. Guan quickly said, "It's my fault, I accidentally bumped into her." Han Ming ignored Guan, his gaze locked on the ghost mother's back, speaking coldly. "Who, exactly, are you?" "Although you hit it well, I sensed a momentary release of your aura." "You're not human, you're a ghost, aren't you?" "A ghost?" The words caused the surrounding disciples to rise, some even drawing their magic artifacts. Guan looked at the ghost mother of Ephemera in shock and stepped aside. The ghost mother turned, her gaze ignoring Guan, coldly fixed on Han Ming. "You're not a member of the Supreme Sect, so why interfere?" Chapter 112, Unparalleled Battle, Path Enlightenment. In the painting, I received guidance from Sword Venerable Fudao, so naturally, I must repay the favor. Besides, the Supreme Sect has treated me well these past years. Han Ming responded firmly, taking out the sword box from his back, ready to fight. At that moment, 3 figures appeared out of thin air around the ghost mother of Ephemera. All 3 were great cultivators of the Void Crossing Realm, specifically stationed at the Heavenly Repair Platform. The ghost mother of Ephemera, at the Unification Realm, did not fear them. She shook her head slightly, muttering to herself, "So troublesome, but it's almost enough." She suddenly transformed into a wisp of ghostly chi, disappearing into thin air. The 3 great cultivators of the Void Crossing Realm followed, vanishing from their original spot. Guan could sense them moving towards the outer sect, chasing her into the distance. Han Ming did not pursue. Revealing the ghost mother of Ephemera's identity was already good enough. The chase was the Supreme Sect's responsibility. He turned to look at the still frightened Guan and comforted him. "Don't worry, that ghost should not come back after escaping." Guan nodded, but could not help glancing around, as if afraid there were other ghosts nearby. One must fully commit to acting. Han Ming walked up to him, patted his shoulder, and pulled him over to Xuan, then began recounting his experiences of slaying demons and ghosts. Guan thought it was bad luck. The act had gone too far, and it was hard to leave now. He had no choice but to listen to Han Ming's bragging. Xuan, who rarely saw Guan, was in a good mood. The two whispered, causing Han Ming to angrily growl. The matter of the ghost mother of Ephemera was just an interlude. Guan had been waiting for his lifespan warning. As long as an enemy warning appeared, the ghost mother of Ephemera would not live past today. Fortunately, no warning appeared, indicating the ghost mother did not suspect him. Of course, it was also possible that the ghost mother of Ephemera had no malicious intent for coming to the Supreme Sect. She had been here for years without causing trouble. She hadn't participated in the chaos caused by the underworld demon emperor before. Now, the great cultivator of the mystic heart realm from the Ephemera sect was approaching. If the ghost mother of Ephemera had any ill intent, she could have started a massacre and cooperated with that mystic heart realm cultivator. Could it be that the ghost mother of Ephemera had no connection with the Ephemera sect? Guan, while listening to Han Ming brag, thought silently. Under the blue sky, the autumn landscape of withered yellow covered the mountains and rivers. On each peak stood various figures. LV Badian and Jihan Tian were there too. There were 32 people, all great cultivators of the Supreme Sect, each exuding an extraordinary aura. Jihan Tian stood beside LV Badian, asking in a low voice, "Has the opponent surpassed the Unification Realm?" LV Badian looked into the distance with a serious expression, stating, "He must have surpassed it. His aura is far beyond mine, vast and boundless. and it doesn't seem like a recent breakthrough. Mystic Heart Realm. Ji Hantian's face darkened. In the distance, other great cultivators of the Supreme Sect could also hear LV Baishan's words. Their expressions were equally heavy, but no one was afraid. So what if he's in the Mystic Heart Realm? With so many of us in the Unification Realm joining forces, we may still be able to fight, a short elder snorted coldly. Exactly, what is there to fear? The Ji family also has great cultivators rushing over. The Ephemera sect will meet their demise no matter how many they send. It's a pity that our Gu family ancestors' whereabouts are unknown. Otherwise, inviting him would eliminate any risk. Ha ha ha, ancestors are like that, they can't be summoned so easily. True, among the supreme elderly of the sect, some might be in the Mystic Heart Realm. However, those who have reached that stage seek immortal fate and cherish their remaining years without staying here. The other great cultivators of the Unification Realm discussed animatedly. Most of them spent many years in seclusion or training outside. It was a rare reunion for these individuals who seldom showed up in the Supreme Sect. LV Badian took out a bottle of elixir from his storage ring and directly poured it into his mouth. Immediately, his complexion began to recover, with wisps of burning heat emanating from his body. Other great cultivators also took out elixirs and magic artifacts. Some even started setting up formations. The world grew silent, anticipating the outbreak of the grand battle. So many great cultivators in the Unification Realm, truly befitting a 1,000-year-old great sect. A light chuckle echoed through the sky, causing everyone's expressions to change. This voice belonged to the man in the purple robe from the main lineage of the Ephemera sect. Though he had not yet arrived, his laughter brought immense pressure to the great cultivators of the Unification Realm. In the outer gate city, Guan descended from the heavenly repair platform, letting out a long breath. Han Ming is too damn boastful. Had Guan not mentioned urgent business, he would still be stuck listening to Han Ming's legendary tales. Even Guan, who enjoyed chatting, couldn't handle it. Primarily because with Han Ming, it was all one-sided talking with no interesting content. After leaving the heavenly repair platform, Guan planned to find an inn in the city to drink and then watch the battle. After taking a few steps, deafening roars echoed from the horizon. 5 breaths later, a fierce wind surged, causing the outer gate's formation to manifest. Guan quickened his pace, afraid of missing the fight. He jogged to his usual inn, ordered wine and meat from the waiter. Due to the Supreme Sect preparing for battle, there were only 2 or 3 patrons in the inn, each sitting at separate tables. Guan sat by the window, his gaze directed to the horizon as his divine sense stretched across the distance to lock onto the battlefield. 32 great cultivators of the Unification Realm besieged a Mystic Heart Realm cultivator. The scene was incredibly magnificent, earth-shaking, and within thousands of miles, the forests quickly turned to ruins. Guan began to enjoy the visual feast, a battle rarely seen in hundreds of years. Even if he chose to fight, he hardly got to witness such battles. If he couldn't easily crush the opponent, he wouldn't bother fighting. The Mystic Heart Realm was undoubtedly formidable, far beyond the Unification Realm. That purple-robed man single-handedly suppressed the 32 great cultivators of the Supreme Sect with unrivaled dominance. Guan noticed a familiar figure atop a mountain 1,000 miles away from the battlefield. Xuan. It was Xuan who led the purple-robed man. Guan had sensed this earlier and now felt dissatisfied seeing that Xuan hadn't fled. This guy isn't afraid of being shattered. Having saved Xuan before, Guan decided not to save him again in the future. A master like him had done enough. Even if Xuan were to be killed today, he wouldn't intervene. Then, Guan focused solely on the battle. Shortly after, a waiter started serving wine and dishes. Guan had just taken 2 sips when a voice remarked, "You're actually drinking here." Shenzhen. Guan ignored her. Lately, Shenzhen's supreme secret records were getting so exaggerated that even he couldn't resist reading them. It tarnished Guan's name. Undoubtedly, in the Supreme Sect, there must be other people named Guan, likely resenting Shenzhen intensely. Shenzhen sat directly across from him, wearing a veil that attracted even more attention. The inn's patrons couldn't help but glance at her. A grand battle is about to start, and this one might be fiercer than the previous righteous demonic battle. I plan to paint the entire process. Why don't we do it together? Let me tell you, I recently gained some insights from my past paintings, so I might achieve enlightenment through my art. Shenzhen spoke with a tone of pride when mentioning her path enlightenment. She had specifically sought out Guan, tracking him from the Third Medicine Valley to this place. Guan replied, "Forget it, I won't participate. It's too dangerous. With my level of cultivation, I'd easily be reduced to ashes near the battlefield." "No worries, I'll protect you." "What is your cultivation level? Can you even protect me?" "At least I'm in the core formation realm." Core formation realm in such a battlefield is just cannon fodder. When hit by the battle's aftershocks, you'd only convulse a bit longer than I would. You, sign it, okay, that makes some sense. Shenzhen glared before pouring herself a bowl of wine. She gazed into the distance, her expression growing more alarmed with the intensifying battle aura. What kind of fight could cause such a huge commotion? Guan enjoyed the spectacle with his divine sense. LV Badian was indeed strong, clearly on a different level from other great cultivators. Tian was also impressive, with his Qilin step nearly perfected, being one of the few cultivators able to approach the purple-robed man. However, the fight had barely begun, yet most Supreme Sect cultivators were already injured to varying degrees. Some were even blasted to pieces, with only their primordial spirits left to form ranks from afar. The purple-robed man wielded several magic artifacts, holding a long spear imbued with immense power, effectively dominating the battlefield. Guan thought this man hadn't even used his full strength. At this rate, the Supreme Sect side would face complete annihilation. Sigh. It's no good, I have to step in. To ensure better prospects for his stay, Guan had to prevent the Supreme Sect from losing so many great cultivators, unless an enemy appeared that even he couldn't handle. In that case, he would just flee. Guan stood up and said, "Ms. Shen, I need to step out for a moment. I'll come back and find you later. Stay here and don't leave." Without waiting for Shenzhen's response, Guan quickly exited the inn. Shenzhen wasn't suspicious, being more curious about the distant battle than Guan. Guan swiftly walked several streets before making sure no divine sense was locking onto him. Then, employing the limitless freedom step, he moved beyond the outer gate. After 5 steps, he entered the mystic Heaven Cave mansion. Entering a wooden house, he picked up the heaven-cutting axe, and dark purple demonic chi began to ooze from him. 9 extremes yin-yang body. His right foot lifted, disappearing within the cave mansion. The next moment, he stood atop a mountain 1,000 miles away from the mystic Heaven Cave mansion. Guan waved the heaven-cutting axe in his hand, recalling the techniques of the heaven-cutting divine axe in his mind. Forget it. To kill him, do I even need techniques? Guan immediately headed towards the battlefield with the heaven-cutting axe in hand. He planned to use Ancestor Xian Tian's identity to kill the enemy, ensuring the news of the Supreme Sect's ancestor returning would spread across the immortal cultivation world. By then, anyone in the 9 dynasties who wanted to oppose the Supreme Sect would have to think twice. Meanwhile, in the Taitsong dynasty. Boom! Mountains shattered, dust flying everywhere. Another great cultivator of the unification realm fell, his life or death unknown. In mid-air, Tian and 2 great cultivators from the Ji family manifested the heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form to restrain the purple-robed man. All 3 panted heavily, their spiritual power nearly exhausted. From all directions, golden dragon shadows assaulted, as the purple-robed man stood proud in the air, a golden halo hovering behind his head, radiating brilliant light. Any dragon shadow approaching within 10 feet of him was dispersed by an invisible force. The heavenly dragon demon-suppressing form is indeed a marvelous divine skill. Considering you are from the Ji family, I can spare your lives. But if you persist in being obstinate, don't blame me for disregarding the Ji family's dignity. The purple-robed man's cold voice was laced with intense killing intent, no longer retaining his previous disdainful, teasing demeanor. Chapter 113, You are not Ancestor Tian, who are you? Facing the threat from the man in the purple robe, the three great cultivators of the Ji family remained indifferent and continued their attack, as did the other Unification Realm great cultivators from the Supreme Sect, determined to kill him here and now. Humph. The man in the purple robe snorted coldly, lifted the spear in his hand, and swept it forward. In an instant, vast demonic chi erupted, as if a black streak had been brushed across the painting of the heavens, spanning the sky. The three Ji family great cultivators were sent flying, vomiting blood, their heavenly dragon demon-suppressing forms annihilated, dispersing into smoke and clouds. The three crashed into the mountains like fallen stars from beyond the sky, causing the ground to shake and dust to rise in plumes. In all directions, 8 Unification Realm great cultivators shouted in unison. 8 ancient bronze bells floated behind them, from which images of bells also emerged, enclosing a 100-mile radius. As they cultivated energy, the bell images behind them rapidly expanded, all reaching 1,000 feet in height, grand and imposing. The enormous bell images unleashed a terrifying impact, shaking the space and causing waves to surge through the sky. The man in the purple robe raised his spear to deflect, vast spiritual power erupting, forming a powerful storm around him, resisting the impact from the bell images. Whoosh! Amidst the mountains, the sound of something breaking through the air approached the man in the purple robe at an incredible speed. His pupils contracted as he swiftly dodged the attack. It was a flying sword, fast as a streak of light. Its controller was a female cultivator, her red robe fluttering wildly, long hair streaming, and her pure, beautiful face frosty, her gaze at the man in the purple robe filled with killing intent. The gold ring behind the man in the purple robe rose, emitting golden light that shattered the bell images, causing mountains within 100 miles to explode, the ground trembling. Mighty waves of fire rose from the dust, transforming into fire dragons pouncing at the man in the purple robe, who sneered disdainfully. He suddenly turned and thrust his spear. Clang! An earth-shaking collision rang out, the spear striking a 3-zhang-tall great cauldron. The cauldron, with its sides carved with rare and exotic beasts, exuded a primordial aura. LV Badian stood atop the cauldron, unleashing a palm strike, spiritual power bursting out like a flood. The image of a mysterious Xian turtle appeared over him, roaring angrily, the terrifying palm wind simultaneously engulfing the man in the purple robe. Mystic tortoise surging wave palm. The palm wind fell from the sky, penetrating the ground as it swept upwards, scattering the dust waves in the world, as if to destroy the entire world. With a booming sound, LV Badian and the cauldron were blown away, numerous needle-like spiritual power spikes piercing his body, his face changing dramatically. In the violent blast, the man in the purple robe stood like a deity descending to the mortal world, dominating all things. He looked at LV Badian and sneered arrogantly, Unification Realm 9 layer, such a pity to die, for this seat. Before he finished speaking, he suddenly turned his head. Not only him, but the Supreme Sect's great cultivators also seemed to sense something, all turning to look in the same direction. 1,000 miles away, atop a mountain, Xuan stood at the edge of a cliff, gazing into the distance. Noticing the sudden halt in the battle, he frowned, unable to probe into the heart of the battle with his divine sense. Could the Supreme Sect side have already lost? Xuan frowned deeply, his mind conflicted. He didn't want to lead the way, but Elder Qi Han had chosen him. Without him, others would lead, so he had to come. In fact, he did hold resentment towards the Supreme Sect. As an outer disciple of the Supreme Sect, the Sword Sect of the Great Yu dynasty sought to kill him, yet the Supreme Sect did not protect him, instead forcing him to cripple his cultivation, which left him disappointed. Despite his disappointment, the Supreme Sect was his first sect on his immortal cultivation path. He didn't want to see the Supreme Sect destroyed but had to accept it since he had joined the Ephemera Sect, which was the only sect in the immortal cultivation world that could accept him. As Xuan was feeling conflicted, a figure flew over his head. So fast. Xuan couldn't see who had just passed by, only sensing a flash of a purple-black shadow, as if it were an illusion. That figure was Guan. With Guan's cultivation, how could Xuan detect him? He deliberately let Xuan see him, intending to scare him away. This was his last bit of care as a master. After passing Xuan, Guan suddenly accelerated, arriving above the battlefield in one step. He stopped 100 feet away from the man in the purple robe, immediately using a lifespan detection. Golden Spirit Venerable, Mystic Heart Realm 2nd Layer 1840/4500/4600, earning 200 or 300 lifespans would be acceptable. Guan did not act immediately but allowed the man in the purple robe and the Supreme Sect's great cultivators to appraise him. Heaven-cutting axe, who are you? Golden Spirit Venerable frowned tightly, glaring at Guan, and asked in a deep voice. The Supreme Sect great cultivators all looked at Guan. Upon hearing the words heaven-cutting axe, Tian, who was covered in blood and had just flown up, couldn't help but shout in surprise, Ancestor Xianxia? Ancestor Xianxia. But before he finished speaking, with a squelch, Guan severed his head. Blood splattered, Golden Spirit Venerable's eyes wide open. As Guan wielded the heaven-cutting axe, a terrifying gust of wind swept across dozens of miles, blowing the dust explosively along the way. Golden Spirit Venerable's neck began to burn with blue flames, igniting his head and neck from both ends. Golden Spirit Venerable's voice became heavy and hoarse, his primordial spirit desperately trying to emerge, but it couldn't. With a hiss, Guan let go, taking Golden Spirit Venerable's storage bracelet, then watched the blue flames consume him. In less than 5 breaths, with his spiritual power dispersed, Golden Spirit Venerable was reduced to ashes, leaving only a heart suspended in the air, still beating. Mystic Heart. Guan grabbed the Mystic Heart, tossing it into his storage bag. He turned to leave. Wait, who are you really? Are you here to help us, or do you hold a grudge against the Ephemera sect? If it's the latter, why not join forces? The 9 Nether Road has already opened, the real catastrophe is just beginning, we must unite. Tian shouted urgently. Others also looked at Guan, nervous and expectant. Guan remained silent but released his immense sword intent. The moment the sword intent was released, the sky changed color. In the distance, shaking flowers, trees, and grasses all froze. Fu Dao, an old man trembled, his face showing delight. Before he could finish, Guan disappeared in a single step. Tian stood dazed, falling into a trance. Sword Venerable Fu Dao had easily slain the Golden Spirit Venerable. He remembered aggressively pursuing Sword Venerable Fu Dao once. His heart was filled with shame and fear. Fortunately, he was one of their own, otherwise, he would have perished. At the same time, unprecedented curiosity surged in his heart. Who was Sword Venerable Fu Dao? What was his status in the Supreme Sect? Outer Gate City. In an inn, Shenzhen was drinking, not long after Guan had left. Suddenly, powerful auras erupted within the city, causing it to tremble. A battle quickly broke out, startling the other disciples in the inn into leaving. Shenzhen looked up, glancing out the window. Above the heavenly repair platform, 2 cultivators were battling fiercely, the momentum growing. More Supreme Sect disciples landed on the rooftops, forming lines to protect the buildings. It's getting chaotic, interesting. Seeing the chaos in the outer sect, Shenzhen wasn't alarmed, instead, he watched with interest. After a while, Guan rushed in anxiously, asking, "They're all fighting, why aren't you hiding?" The Ephemera sect spies hidden in the Supreme Sect started causing trouble, thinking Golden Spirit Venerable had finished the battle, not knowing he was dead. From here, the Supreme Sect could handle it, so Guan only feigned panic. Shenzhen took out pen and paper, smiling, "Let's draw together. Whoever draws better, if you can satisfy me, you can have any medicinal herbs you want." Chapter 114 Ephemera Gathering, Path Enlightenment. Guan was not swayed by Shenzhen's words. Drawing someone's battle process was too offensive, and he was not lacking in high-rank medicinal herbs at present. Unless Shenzhen offered him a 7th-order medicinal grass, he would remain uninterested. Shenzhen came from the Dao Tian sect of the Great Yu dynasty, an extremely distant place. Even conveying a single message would take an indeterminate amount of time. Guan said, "The whole city is in chaos, how can I be in the mood to paint, Miss Shen? We should find a place to hide to avoid." Suddenly, a thunderous noise interrupted Guan's words. The entire inn shook violently, and dust surged in from the windows, engulfing the two of them. Shenzhen quickly wrapped her arm around Guan's waist and rushed out of the inn, arriving at the back courtyard. Guan tried to free himself from her grip, but she held him tightly. With a serious look in her eyes, she looked towards the back of the inn and whispered, "Don't move." Guan had no choice. Did she really think she could protect him, a great cultivator of the 9th layer of the Mahayana realm? Shenzhen frowned and took a flute from her storage bag with her left hand. Following her gaze, a figure flew out from the dust on the other side of the inn. Guan recognized him. It was Jianghu, an inner sect disciple who often meditated at the heavenly repair platform. Guan always saw him whenever he visited the platform. Unexpectedly, Jianghu turned out to be a spy from the ephemera sect. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Jianghu glanced at Guan and Shenzhen and immediately swung his sword at them. A streak of sword chi broke through the roof and charged towards them. The sword chi was too fast, so fast that Shenzhen could only instinctively raise her flute to block it. Bang! The sword chi exploded, collapsing the entire inn and raising clouds of dust. Jianghu leaped up and swiftly fled, while numerous figures pursued him relentlessly from behind. All around, the entire outer gate city was in a chaotic battle. Even the great elder LV Songhan was fighting, while the city protection array in the sky twisted violently, on the verge of breaking apart. As the sword chi dissipated, Shenzhen pulled Guan out. Both were in a disheveled state. "Miss Shen, are you all right?" Guan asked with concern, though he could see that Shenzhen's injuries were not life-threatening. Jianghu was at the first layer of the nascent soul realm. Although Shenzhen had blocked his sword chi, she had suffered internal injuries. Being able to block a sword from a nascent soul realm cultivator with a core formation realm cultivation level, Shenzhen indeed had some skills. Blood dripped from her chin beneath her veil. She maintained her composure and said calmly, "I am the holy daughter of the Dao Tian sect. How could a nameless person harm me? Let's find a place to hide first." She let go of her right hand and then quickly walked ahead, with Guan following closely behind. The entire city was in battle. The two dared not fly and had to traverse the streets on foot. Fortunately, they encountered disciples from the law enforcement hall who led them to an underground palace to take refuge. The underground palace was extensive, sheltering many disciples, most of whom were servant disciples. Shenzhen found a place to sit cross-legged, took out a bottle of elixir from her storage bag, and began to cultivate and heal after consuming it. Guan did not disturb her. He scanned the underground palace, and after confirming there were no abnormalities, he also sat down and closed his eyes to observe the world with his divine sense. The entire supreme sect was in turmoil, not just the outer gate city. Battles raged in all the cities. LV Badian and others, sensing the unrest in the supreme sect, were all hurrying back. Without the support of the Golden Spirit Venerable, the supreme sect would surely overcome this internal conflict, albeit with some casualties in the process. Guan's divine sense focused mainly on the Third Medicine Valley and the Mystic Valley. The Mystic Valley, located outside the outer gate, remained unthreatened since the ephemera sect spies were causing chaos within the supreme sect. The Third Medicine Valley was under protection, with Guyu leading a group of cultivators to guard it. Fierce battles had already erupted. As long as the medicinal herbs remained untouched, Guan was not inclined to intervene. The supreme sect needed this trial by fire. Time passed by. As Unification Realm great cultivators returned, skirmishes in the cities quickly subsided. In less than 30 minutes, there was no more fighting in the outer gate city where Guan was located. A figure emerged from the tunnel, shouting joyfully, "The battle is over, everyone can come out." Hearing this, the disciples smiled, stood up, and helped each other out. Shenzhen stood up as well. Looking at Guan, she said, "Why aren't you helping me? Look at the others." Guan laughed, "I don't think you're that seriously injured. Once we return to the Medicine Valley, you can pick a batch of medicinal herbs as a reward for protecting me just now." Shenzhen smiled but did not respond and walked towards the crowd with Guan. After leaving the underground palace, Guan reached the street. He looked up to see the sky shrouded in dark clouds, with fire dragons formed by spiritual power swirling majestically, appearing as if divine beings were protecting the city. Guan saw a figure of a Unification Realm great cultivator hovering thousands of feet in the air. During the earlier battle with the Golden Spirit Venerable, this person had looked quite haggard. Now, however, he seemed invincible and overbearing. Shenzhen gazed upwards as well. After confirming the battle had truly ended, she said to Guan, "I need to return. You should also go back soon." With that, she turned and left. She tried to appear relaxed, but once out of Guan's sight, he noticed she suddenly sped up. Shenzhen's injuries would likely require months of rest to fully recover. Guan began to stroll through the city. Wherever he passed, he saw many buildings damaged, with injured disciples coming and going, inspecting the city. Guan sensed the presence of Jinqin and Yilan, both uninjured, so he did not seek them out. The mysterious aura he had felt a few days ago was still there. As it came from too far away within the Taizong dynasty, Guan could not discern its origin. He speculated it might be related to the Nine Nether Road. Before dying, the Golden Spirit Venerable had said that the main lineage of the Ephemera sect was about to arrive, indicating that this calamity had just begun. More Mystic Heart Realm great cultivators were likely to appear in the future. It truly was a troublesome time. Guan mused, his gaze suddenly drawn to a distant figure. A disciple was walking among the crowd. He looked unremarkable, in both appearance and cultivation level, and few people paid attention to him as he walked along the street. Guan was drawn to him because there was an indescribable aura about him that felt somewhat familiar. Time for a lifespan detection. Wuju, Foundation Establishment Realm Second Layer 63/280/310. Such a lifespan was not outstanding in the outer gate. Guan thought as he looked at Wuju, soon understanding why the aura felt familiar. Path Enlightenment. The other party was in Path Enlightenment, no wonder he seemed somewhat dazed while walking the streets. Guan became interested and observed Wuju closely, wanting to see the state of Path Enlightenment from the perspective of an onlooker. He had undergone Path Enlightenment before. After that experience, he was unsure of the specific changes that had occurred, as he often used lifespan to enhance himself, which could obscure any transformations. He could not discern whether the improvements came from his own powers or the lifespan evolution. Guan began to follow Wuju, maintaining a distance of several feet. As they walked down various streets, Guan suddenly felt Wuju's aura surge. This surge was not an elevation in his cultivation level but rather another profound change. He instinctively used lifespan detection again. Wuju, Foundation Establishment Realm Second Layer 63/280/340. His maximum lifespan had increased by 30 years. This was the first time Guan had seen someone's maximum lifespan increase. Was this the transformation brought by Path Enlightenment? No wonder Han Ming claimed that after Path Enlightenment, one's sword Dao advanced rapidly. It seemed even aptitude and comprehension improved. Guan was secretly astonished, growing more interested in Wuju. In the wasteland, over 1,000 ephemera sect cultivators gathered in front of an array platform, whispering among themselves. Their gazes frequently turned to the black rift on the array platform. The black aura had disappeared, but a black space rift remained in the sky, reflecting a dark red sky, like the entrance to an exotic world. Elder Chi Han sat in the front, frowning. For some reason, he suddenly felt uneasy. He tried to calm down and closed his eyes to cultivate. The sun set, and the moon rose. A night passed. In the early morning, a sound of footsteps appeared on the array platform, startling Elder Qihan to open his eyes. Not only him, but many cultivators instinctively opened their eyes to look. The Golden Spirit Venerable is dead. Summon all ephemera sect members to gather here. A cold voice resonated in everyone's ears. The speaker was a woman in black, her face masked, with an ephemera pattern on it. Her words caused an uproar among the ephemera sect members. They knew the Golden Spirit Venerable was the title of the man in a purple robe they had seen earlier. How could such a powerful figure have died within a few days? Was the Supreme Sect truly so formidable? Jianghu in the crowd also frowned, shocked by the strength of the Supreme Sect. Elder Qihan's expression changed dramatically, but he did not hesitate. He stood up and issued orders to gather the ephemera sect. At that moment, far away in the Supreme Sect, Lu Lingjun was equally astounded. The news of Sword Venerable Fudao slaying the ephemera sect demon had spread throughout the sect, with disciples everywhere celebrating this feat. Inner sect disciples even came to the Third Medicine Valley, loudly proclaiming this achievement, inspiring excitement among the valley's disciples, who resumed discussions about Sword Venerable Fudao's prowess. Taking advantage of the situation, Guan took his leave and flew to the outer gate city. Upon entering the city, he moved quickly, turning corners until he reached a street. There, he saw Wu Ju, who had enlightened, standing under an old tree, facing its trunk, lost in thought. Guan sensed he had awakened from path enlightenment and was probably organizing his thoughts. Wu Ju, Foundation Establishment Realm 2nd Layer 63/280/540. His maximum lifespan had increased from 310 to 540 years, nearly doubling. Guan was very curious about what Wu Ju had realized. Thinking this, Guan pretended to pass by, approached Wu Ju from behind, and asked with concern, "Brother, are you all right?" Wu Ju turned around hastily, looking flustered, and waved, "Nothing, I was just deep in thought about a cultivation technique and got lost in it." He then offered an embarrassed smile, clasped his hands in salute to Guan, and walked away. Guan watched his back but did not pursue, silently deciding to observe him more in the future. A maximum lifespan of 540 years was not enough to stand out in the outer gate, but he would see if Wu Ju continued to enlighten further. The ephemera sect members who remained in the 9 dynasties territory were merely puppets of the main lineage. They knew nothing but each harbored their own expectations. Guan picked an ephemera flower and then entered the 8 scenic caves, arriving before the green vine tree. He placed the ephemera flower under the tree for the green vine tree to sense. "Take it away. Take it away," the female voice of the green vine tree echoed, soft yet anxious. Guan asked in surprise, "You are a 7th level spirit tree. Are you actually afraid of a 6th level flower? Its aura is very annoying." "I dislike it," the green vine tree responded intermittently. Upon hearing this, Guan raised his hand and put the ephemera flower back into his storage bag. He then sat down and summoned the storage bracelet from a distance, beginning to inventory the legacy of Golden Spirit Venerable. The 8 scenic caves contained many storage bags and rings, all spoils acquired by Guan through battles, and this was the place where he could store things best kept out of sight. However, after searching thoroughly, he didn't find any information about the ephemera flower and had to give up. But what he found instead was an elixir record, which he took out to examine carefully. He had already mastered the Tai Ching elixir path, his alchemy skills had reached the Grandmaster level, and with an elixir recipe, he could effortlessly refine elixirs. Halfway through, his hand paused. Ephemera demon elixir? Winter eventually arrived, and snowflakes drifted down to the mortal world, continuously erasing its color. Tian Valley. Guan had just harvested a batch of medicinal herbs, successfully obtaining nearly 10,000 years of lifespan, filling him with joy. Tian Valley had special formations that prevented snow from accumulating, saving a lot of trouble. Guan instructed Sunda to move all the medicinal herbs into the storage building, then walked towards the courtyard where Luo Han and Yi Luyun were drinking and discussing the 9 Nether Road. The 9 Nether Road has caught the attention of the cultivators from the 9 dynasties. It said that representatives from each dynasty and sect have been sent to investigate, but the entrance to the Nine Nether Road is surrounded by ephemera sect cultivators, and they have all returned empty-handed. Luo Han said with a frown. Yi Luyan glanced at the approaching Guan, then said to Luo Han, "This is also a good thing. At least the Taizong dynasty doesn't have to bear the pressure of the ephemera sect alone." Luo Han nodded and said, "The force behind the ephemera sect will definitely come through the Nine Nether Road. This will be a calamity for the 9 dynasties. Furthermore, my sources report that ephemera flowers are appearing everywhere now. When they mature, they attract demons and ghosts. It's uncertain what the ephemera sect's true purpose is." Guan sat down nearby, listening to the two discuss matters of the immortal cultivation world. He curiously asked, "Are there any evil legends about the ephemera flower?" Previously, he thought the ephemera sect was merely competing for power with the supreme sect. Now, he realized their ambitions were far greater. Without understanding the true strength of the main lineage of the ephemera sect, Guan dared not enter the Nine Nether Road. Yi Luyan frowned and said, "I have heard a legend that the ephemera flower is a flower of the underworld, symbolizing death and reincarnation. When ephemera flowers appear in the mortal world, it heralds an imminent catastrophe, causing many lives to perish." Luo Han said, "The 9 dynasties have already issued orders to eradicate the ephemera flowers. Regardless of the ephemera sect's intentions, the widespread appearance of ephemera flowers must be stopped." Upon hearing this, Guan felt relieved. When the world is in trouble, the world should unite against it. He didn't want to bear the worry alone. Now that everyone is clearing out ephemera flowers, he might as well join in. Clearing ephemera flowers at night could earn him lifespan and save lives, benefiting in every way. Luo Han and Yi Luyan continued discussing the ephemera sect, while Guan listened, hearing many names through their conversation. The reappearance of the Nine Nether Road in the mortal world caused a great upheaval in the immortal cultivation world of the 9 dynasties. Many great cultivators who had been in seclusion began to emerge. The ephemera sect had become the scourge of the 9 dynasties. Some ancient beings, who had lived for over 1,000 years, declared they would annihilate the ephemera sect. This was advantageous, as the ephemera sect becoming a common enemy might cause those who had joined it to waver and seize the opportunity to break free. As evening approached, Guan returned to Mystic Valley. He scanned the area with his divine sense and had a strange expression. Yang and I had burned all the ephemera flowers she planted, leaving ashes behind in the garden. Could it be that Yang and I had come to her senses? Guan did not ask Yang and I about it and instead, went back to his room. Late at night, Guan began to sweep through the Taizong dynasty with his divine sense, searching for ephemera flowers. One sweep revealed a shocking number of ephemera flowers. How did so many ephemera flowers sprout up all of a sudden? They weren't there last month. Guan immediately vanished from his room and went to eradicate the ephemera flowers. Within 2 steps, he arrived in a forest miles away, near a village where the ephemera flowers were mostly concentrated around the vicinity. He picked an ephemera flower, only to obtain a year's lifespan. These ephemera flowers grew extremely fast, quite unnatural, likely due to some force draining their potential, leaving them with little remaining lifespan. Ugh, traveler of graceful crane spat out a mouthful of reverse blood, desperately finding his spiritual power suppressed within his body, incapable of manifesting outside or casting spells for escape. He had never felt such suppression. Even a great mystic heart realm cultivator couldn't suppress him like this. Could it be that he had reached above the 5th level of the mystic heart realm? Traveler of graceful crane felt an absurdity. Boom. 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 Guan started stomping, foot by foot on Traveler of Graceful Crane's back. More blood pooled beneath him, forming cracks in the mountain surface. Shrouded in dark purple demonic chi, Guan appeared like a demon god from the netherworld. Even Liya couldn't help but feel a tinge of fear in his heart. The primordial spirit of the old ancestor within him was also silent. After 9 stomps, Traveler of Graceful Crane had lost his combat ability. Guan's right foot ignited with Tai Ching True Fire, attaching it to Traveler of Graceful Crane's body. He then stepped back, using his left hand to capture Traveler of Graceful Crane's primordial spirit, while his right hand picked up the book box beside him. Traveler of Graceful Crane's body was swiftly incinerated to ashes. Guan's figure vanished, leaving only a sentence: "From now on, survive at your best. There's no need to seek me out again." Liya stood on the slope, gazing at the ashes of Traveler of Graceful Crane, speechless for a long time. After quite a while, he couldn't help but ask in his mind, "Do you still think the primordial ancestor has no chance against the main branch of the ephemera sect?" The old ancestor didn't respond. Inside the Mystic Heaven Cave mansion, Guan sat at a stone table, performing the soul-capturing skill on Traveler of Graceful Crane's primordial spirit. Indeed, Traveler of Graceful Crane was not from the 9 dynasties. He came from the main branch of the ephemera sect, having arrived early on. 300 years ago, the main branch of the ephemera sect descended upon the land of the 9 dynasties. He and several fellow disciples scattered, the others enacted the primary branch's major plan, searching for suitable puppet sects, while he traveled alone, seeking immortal opportunities. His actions were unique due to his core disciple status within the primary branch, possessing a prestigious background. 200 years ago, he encountered the mighty LV Badian, realizing he wasn't an opponent, so he avoided it, hiding away for 200 years. The main branch of the ephemera sect came to the land of the 9 dynasties knowing it would be devoured by demons. In their view, the human race here was doomed and better be fed to the ephemera tree. The ephemera tree craved the spiritual power and flesh of human cultivators. If it could devour the humans of the 9 dynasties, it could transcend the heavenly destiny, reaching the legendary 9th rank.